Hello, this is a guy who likes fanfiction and is too lazy to read, so here is Naruto Path of Shinobi in audio form. Check the description for the links to the author. Chapter 6. Wave S Police Department. Warehouse. 30 minutes after Naruto arrived. While usually most of the warehouses cannot be stated of being examples of cleanness and order, Police's warehouse was actually quite ordered and clean, though if not a little bit cramped, with all the utilities, supplies, and more stored in here. However, it had a pretty good soundproofing, further enhanced by Naruto's soundproofing seal, put in place just to be extra safe. Considering the fact that just some 40 feet away from him stood the man infamous for peeking, possible adultery and for running a spy network, it was for the better. It had taken about 20 minutes for Naruto to lay down everything to Tsuji, Hana, Mikoto, and now he watched as they considered their options, along with reeling with a mild shock at what they had just heard, with Hana and Mikoto being verbal about it, while Tsuji's face merely hardened at it. Most of the shinobi world thought very little of samurais and Shinzengumi of Mizu, being convinced that they weren't in the same league as shinobi. But, as Naruto had discovered, Shinzengumi weren't just as good as shinobi, but in many aspects could outmatch them. They weren't above studying ninjutsu and learning about chakra control and manipulation of it, while also abiding to a strict code of honor. In swordplay, Shinzengumi were trained to a level that one of them could take out at least a dozen of simple soldiers, or be able to kill a shinobi without trouble, and they were capable of more than just that. Naruto had personally witnessed how Shinzengumi cut through entire battalions of shinobi with their swords, showing superior kenjutsu skills to those of shinobi. Hiraizaki style was designed for a swift execution of the enemies, while also being able to go into a defense if needed. Plus, Shinzengumi would be encouraged to study additional kenjutsu styles of combat, not only to gain additional skills, but also to be able to rely on more than just Hiraizaki. Many members of Shinzengumi, including Tsuji and Naruto, had studied additional styles of kenjutsu too, suitable not just for swift fight, but also for prolonged battles. And the difference in skills, swordplay, and even the philosophy of battles on swords between shinobi and Shinzengumi has been shown in full display in Mizu's Civil War, where Shinzengumi, formerly just a militia trained in usage of chakra originating from Mikawa, had slashed through shinobi of Mizu, armies of Oda and Toyotomi and many other feudal lords, leading to the eventual victory of Tokugawa faction and Shinzengumi being recognized as national heroes and granted a status of honored guard, and a main police force of Mizu. And Tsuji Okada was their best, having become a member of Shinzengumi at mere age of 9, the youngest member of Shinzengumi yet, and arguably their best. He joined not because there were no better options, but because there was a civil war and his land needed protection, his family was in danger, and, considering what shinobi of Kiri were like back then, he became a member of Shinzengumi. With a sword in his hand, steel resolve and will of iron, Tsuji fought his way through Mizu's civil war, becoming a captain at age of 14 years. When he and Naruto had met, the two had quickly grew first to respect each other, and later on acknowledged one another as best friends, with Naruto curing Tsuji's tuberculosis on its early stage, saving his life. After the war was over, Naruto had decided to settle down in Wave, and Tsuji, who throughout his whole life knew only how to fight, decided to learn what peace was like and followed Naruto in Wave. While he would occasionally take up jobs, Tsuji's primary way of earning income became training Wave's police force, the endeavor in which he has succeeded quite well, though there is no preparing for 2S rank nuknins arriving like yesterday. Along with that, living a peaceful life with his wife Hana, he also trained Mikoto Sarutobi, who took to swordsmanship and ways of Shinzengumi like fish to the water. And now, Naruto has come to Tsuji and his family, to ask of him something he did not expect to hear of him. Taking a breath in, Tsuji spoke up, as his wife and apprentice have calmed down. Naruto, what you ask of me, and what you are tasked to do by your mother. Such mission is impossible to complete on your own and even with my help. Tsuji, having analyzed everything, came to a conclusion. The moment you start to complete it, you will start a civil war within Konoha and all those that are on your target list shall fight you. You may be able to defeat them, possibly without the power of Kurama, but the casualties will be staggering, and the village will run red from blood. You understand that, I believe. Quite well, Tsuji. Naruto said to him with full seriousness. I know for a fact that while I personally have power equal to that of Hashirama Senju, if you count Kurama in, I am still a single shinobi up against what is essentially half of Konoha and their forces. However, yesterday, when Tsunade had told me of this mission, I recalled Ieyasu and his plan on ending the war, the way to defeating Nobunaga, Yagura, Hideyoshi, and all those other powerful warlords. I believe you also remember how we did it back then. Yes, I do. Tsuji recalled, before he understood what Naruto had meant to him and what was the cornerstone of Naruto's plan, though he did not show it out in the open. I see. Reach for the hearts of oppressed and lift their spirits through hope, and the will to fight for a better tomorrow shall flow into their hearts. You intend to become the fire of hope for people of Konoha. Not all of them, Tsuji. Naruto assured him. Konoha is corrupt, possibly to the point when it would be best simply to destroy it, but my experience in war tells me, that even in the darkest of places, there may be those whose hearts still carry light in them. And their light might just become the cleansing flame against the corrupt, but it must first be nurtured, until... Naruto made a small pause, letting out a single chuckle. Until the wolves can bare their fangs. Hana and Mikoto didn't quite catch this one, but Tsuji understood it perfectly. Aku. Soku. Zen. Tsuji repeated the main principle of Shinzengamai, the core of their philosophy. Slay evil immediately. Now I fully understand why you needed me, my friend. You need not just my blade and skills, but also the teachings of Shinzengamai, to start the fires of the revolution. Heh, how ironic. Tsuji let out a small laugh with a smile at this one. What's so funny, dear? Hana asked of him, interested to know. When Shinzengamai were first founded, their primary goal was to put down a rebellion in works. Tsuji told Hana with a small smile. And now, the principles that the first Shinzengamai had used to quell down the rebellion, are now going to be used to start a revolution in Konoha. An irony at its best, if you think about it. I am not insisting that you go with me, Tsuji. You, Hana and Mikoto here have no need to go back there and... Naruto, while it is nice to know that you care about us, you are mistaken here. Hana suddenly stated to him, having thought about it carefully on her own. I am deeply grateful to you for putting Kiba to the sword for all that he has done to me and others. But he is only a symptom of disease that turned once a proud and strong Inyazuka clan into a horde of rabid mutts and a disgrace of Konoha. If you are planning of cleaning up that cesspool, I would like to be there when my mother gets what's coming to her. That is, if you, Tsuji-kun, are willing to go as well. Hana looked at her husband with devotion and care. I personally do not like to mix personal feelings and duty, for it blurs the line between honor and wishes for vengeance and revenge. But I believe that I can stay professional, while also fulfilling personal desire for vengeance and justice. Tsuji stated to Naruto, who merely smiled at this one. I would much rather preferred to dealt with Kiba and Yazuka personally, considering that it is my wife he had dishonored in such vile way. However, if we are going, then I wish to be the one to deal in the punishment upon Tsum and her clan, when the time comes. Be my guest, Tsuji. Naruto simply agreed with him, turning his eyes upon Mikoto, who was still deciding everything. Miko-chan, what are your thoughts on this one, kid? Ugh. After everything that had happened, I wish for my friends' souls to rest in peace. Mikoto let out a sigh. Promise me, that Sasuke Uchiha will get what he deserves and some more. And that I can depend upon you, Naruto-sensei, to offer me a protection from council and my clan. That last bit surprised Naruto a little, along with Tsuji and Hana. That duck-butted asshole already has a spot in hell reserved for him, and I will be more than happy to send him there. And, as Ive stated, if you are coming with me, you will be under a political and judicial protection of Fire Daimyo, Mikoto, but why would you need protection against your clan? I can understand the council, they'll be more than happy to claw you up, but Clan Sarutobi? Naruto asked of her, interested in what was the deal in this one. My clan is known for their exemplary loyalty and devotion to Konohagakure. That is a common well-known fact. However, what most don't know is that Sarutobi clan laws dictate, that if a Sarutobi shinobi should abandon their village and their clan, no matter the circumstances, they are to be tracked down and executed on sight. Mikoto explained to Naruto, Tsuji, and Hana why she needed protection. This is why I asked of you not to give me back to Konoha, as I knew what I would be facing. In the eyes of a council, with their favoritism of Uchiha bastard, I would be a traitor, and my clan would rather sacrifice a child of traitor than stand by her side. Child of a traitor. Tsuji cocked his brow upwards. Does that mean that one of your parents had left the Sarutobi clan? Tsuji saw his apprentice nod at this one. My mother, Hikari Sarutobi, was of Sarutobi clan, younger sister to Asuma Sarutobi and his successor as guardian shinobi. While she was serving the previous daimyo, she fell in love with one of his sons, Tatsumaru Matsuudera, and they had me, in secret. Mikoto told them, surprising them all at this reveal. Fire Daimyo and his family didn't really care about this, as mistresses and lovers were nothing new for a royal family members, but Sarutobi clan. My mother's clan is known as a righteous, diligent, and loyal to Konoha and its own members. And if someone steps out of the line, as they see it, then they are punished. And not even Hokage's own daughter and wife to the successor of Fire Throne is safe from it. My mother was officially made a traitor by my grandfather for betrayal of Sarutobi clan. Mikoto said with sadness in her voice, before she was pulled into a hug by Hana, who accepted it, before continuing. When I was around 3, we were on the road to the capital, when a group of enemy shinobi attacked. The escort was killed quickly, and then. My mom was one of the best in guardians, but even she didn't last long against a group of Nuknins, and my father wasn't a shinobi. I, on the other hand, was taken to Konoha by the man that killed my mother and his sister. Naruto and others quickly realized whom Mikoto spoke of. That explains the mysterious death of Tatsumaru Matsuudera and his wife Hikari. Tsuji quietly stated, turning to Naruto. You told me why you hated the third Hokage so much, but to go as far as to kill his own daughter and a prime candidate to the throne. Bastard. Miko-chan, how did you come to know about it? Were you not 3 at the time? Soon after Third's death, I've managed to get my hands on one of his journals, and that is how I learned about it all. Mikoto simply stated, turning to Naruto. As you can see, Naruto and I have more than enough reasons of my own to go back there as well. Yeah, I can see that too, Miko-chan, or should I now refer to you as Mikoto Dano? Naruto joked at this one, with Mikoto looking at him with a deadpan expression. What? You are a member of Daimyo's family and a cousin to current Daimyo, are you not, Mikoto Matsuudera? Mikoto simply pouted a bit at the joke, before Naruto spoke up seriously again. Thank you, it means a lot for me, guys. I promise to you, as long as you are with me, Leaf won't be able to touch us without inviting fury of Daimyo, and if they do, then we have a full-on carte blanche to exact our own justice. That is reassuring to hear, but I am still trying to think about the ways of retraining Konoha's police force, considering that I'll be in charge at training, officially. Tsuji spoke up, before catching a surprise, and, strangely enough, somewhat sympathetic glances of all 3 former Konoha shinobi. Am I missing something here? Dear, the thing is, Konoha doesn't have a police force per se. Hana stated to Tsuji, who cocked his eyebrow up at this one. The Uchiha clan was in charge of policing Konoha and its streets, but after their massacre. Well, to put it bluntly. Wait. You mean to tell me that Konohagakuer no Sato, one of the big 5 shinobi hidden villages, and the one to win all 3 shinobi wars, does not have a regular police force? Tsuji practically shouted out in shock and disbelief. The police is an essential institution in protecting civilians, preservation of order and law enforcement, as well as prevention of crimes and destabilization of national stability. And Konoha does not have it. How in Kami's name have they been operating the civilian security without a dedicated institution of civilian protection and judicial enforcement? And how long has this been going on? 12 years. About that long, yeah. And don't ask me about this one, but, in my personal opinion, things weren't exactly well when the police force was around. I am biased, of course, all facts considered, but... Naruto simply shrugged at it all, before continuing. But in all seriousness, the previous police force, when compared to Shinzengami, didn't hold a candle to you and Sato, Tsuji. The Konoha's police force was fully made of Clan Uchiha, as per a decree of 2nd Hokage, and consisted only of Uchiha, who operated as semi-independent from the Hokage office and enforced the law in their own accords. And, as an experienced policeman, you can see what such situation could only escalate to. No wonder they had tried to rebel, according to what Uve told us. Suji simply let out a sigh. Alright, I'll take this job, but I will need a couple of things from your Hokage, as well as several addition instructors for this job. Hope you don't mind if I contact some of my retired Shinsengamai friends and invite them in. Just verify this with Tsunade, but she shouldn't have any trouble in this department. And as for the payment to you and your friends, if they join in, we'll have to verify it with her and current daimyo when we get the chance, considering that she basically had made this mission. Naruto said, as he released the seal and spoke out loud. Now, if we are finished, let us go. I am sure that Frog Fetishist is dying to learn what's your decision. They went towards the doors and stepped outside, as Suji spoke up. Considering the fact of him sitting at the tree branch right above us, I believe you are correct. Suji agreed with Naruto, as he simply kicked the tree hard enough, and the branch immediately broke and fell down, along with Jiraiya, who landed on his ass, right in front of Suji and everyone else. Jiraiya, as a Sunin and a spy master, your skills at infiltration and espionage are quite impressive. However, there is a good reason why Shinsengamai are also trained in said arts, along with ninjutsu and genjutsu. Say what you want. You only got lucky, that's all. Jiraiya huffed, glaring at Naruto and Suji. Besides, it's common knowledge now, that no samurai or whatever these Mizu's militiamen call themselves, can defeat a shinobi, especially one of Konoha, Naruto being an exception here. Jiraiya smirked, thinking that neither of the two here would be foolish enough to challenge him to that one, and even if they fell for it, he was still in the win. Is that so? Jiraiya Dono, if you are doubtful about my skills as a swordsman and Shinsengamai as a whole, perhaps a demonstration is in place. Suji knew that he was being baited, but he couldn't refuse an opportunity of putting Konoha's Sunin in his place. You arrived here with Kushina Uzumaki, Konoha's mistress of swordsmanship, as well as with an Umbu Black Ops, carrying a sword with her, whom I presume to be none other than Yojao Izuki, one of the top Konoha's Kenjutsu masters. A good opportunity to verify the validity of the common knowledge, wouldn't you agree, Lady Hokage? Suji, Hana, Mikoto, and Naruto turned to see the trio of women, with Yojao having revealed herself as well, standing there. Seems so. Tsunade agreed to this one, turning to Yojao. What do you say, Yojao? Think you can match Mizu's best swordsman? Yojao was about to answer, but she interrupted by Kushina. She shouldn't have any trouble. Kushina answered for Yojao. After all, she was once my apprentice in Kenjutsu, so she won't be able to lose to some wannabe samurai or whatever you call yourself. I personally can take down any of your Shinsengamai with ease, along with my Sachi here. Kushina proudly stated, letting her mouth speak without thinking. Well, if you are so certain of yourself, then why not back those words with a sword, Kushina? Naruto simply stated, surprising her and Jiraiya, as he and Suji already walked towards the training ground. Wait, what did he mean by that? Kushina suddenly asked, with Yojao answering this one. I believe Naruto wishes to see if you can back those words about defeating him. Yojao simply stated, as she put away her mask and unsheathed her own sword, walking towards her opponent on the opposite end of the training field, joined by Kushina, reluctantly. Lady Hokage, what would be the terms of this challenge? Well, if that is okay with you too. She saw nods from Naruto and Suji. Then here is how you do it, 3 strikes at the vital points, and use the blunt weapons, if you have them. First to score those strikes wins. You have blunt katanas or something like that. Suji nodded, as he walked towards the training stands and pulled out of them 4 blunted katanas, tossing the 2 to Yojao and Kushina, and giving 1 to Naruto, who unsheathed it with Suji. Alright, no taijutsu, genjutsu and ninjutsu, just kenjutsu. Yojao and Okada will go first in this one. With that out of the way, Hajime. Tsunade gave the signal to the fight, as Naruto and Kushina cleared the field. Yojao decided not to waste her window of opportunity and decided to go straight at Suji, who took up a position for Hirajiki. She brought her sword to her right, going straight at him, with Suji carefully analyzing her every movement. Once she was about in mere 1.5 meters, Yojao suddenly visibly split into 3, followed by after images, seemingly confusing Suji, though he did not show it. Suji stood in his stance, seeing how all images disappeared. Before he suddenly moved elegantly to the left side, bringing his blade upwards. Yojao landed at the spot where Suji was supposed to be standing, her eyes wide at shock that she didn't hit him. However, her shock was short-lived when Suji's blunt katana slashed at Yojao's back, which would have been the end for her had it been a real fight. Yojao reeled at blunt pain upon her spine, thrusting herself away from Suji hoping to gain distance from him. Once she thought that she had done so, she turned around, and just barely was able to block his thrust at her throat, interlocking against Shinzengami's best swordsman and looking at his impassive face, betraying not an ounce of his emotions. As they interlocked, Yojao allowed herself to speak to him. "How did you manage to see through my crescent moon dance?" she asked of him, as she moved back a little under the pressure. "Your after images may be effective at confusing most opponents, but not someone who has been trained to constantly look at shadows." Suji simply answered to her. "And your shadow betrayed you this time?" Suji answered to her, as he moved Yojao's blade to her right, completely exposing her for him, as he went into an attack. Bringing his blade close to his right shoulder, he thrust it at Yojao's left kidney, before bringing it upwards and slashing diagonally across her torso, finishing the fight. Yojao stepped back at pain, panting a little and putting away her training sword, as did Suji, who bowed respectfully to her. She returned the gesture in kind, walking towards the stand and returning her sword there, before taking place near Tsunade, while Suji stood near his apprentice and wife. Naruto and Kushina walked towards the training field and stood across it in front of each other. Naruto adopted the look of impassiveness, laying his hand upon the handle, preparing for an attack and defense in a Iaido stance, while Kushina drew out her katana and brought to her chin level, with the blunt side looking down and the supposed cutting edge upwards. She didn't like the idea of fighting against her own son, and she was cursing her mouth right about now in her mind. However, if she were able to prove to him here and now that she was strong and could teach him how to properly hold a sword, then she would most certainly win over her son back. After all, Jiraiya and Kakashi did tell her that he always pestered them about training, and what better way to get back her son than by offering him the training. Tsunade sounded the beginning of the spar, and Kushina decided to be the first to go on the offensive. Naruto decided to follow suit as well, speeding from his spot where he stood initially, and closing the distance with Kushina, his hand near his blade. Kushina saw this as an opportunity for the strike, and once the distance was closed between them, went into a thrust at her son, aiming for his shoulder. Naruto predicted this attack, so his form fluidly moved in circular motion to Kushina's right, passing her, as she turned her sword to reach for him. However, Naruto was quicker on the draw, and in flash, his hand unsheathed the blade and struck at Kushina's neck, hard and powerfully, sending her flying forward and falling onto the ground. Naruto looked at his mother's downed form, before she began to rise up on her feet after such a strike. She spit out blood from her mouth and wiped away the dust from her eyes, as she caught the sight of Naruto bringing his blade into a Geitosu stance and rushing towards her, ready to thrust his own sword at her. Kushina had to admit to herself, that her son was definitely much faster than her, possibly just as fast as Minato, but she still had some fire left in her. When Naruto closed the distance, he sent his blade at Kushina's shoulder, but was forced to redirect the blade as to block Kushina's sword, that was coming for him from his right. The blades interlocked, with Naruto gripping his sword with both hands, as did Kushina, both not giving in the ground, trying to overpower one another, with Kushina speaking up. "Naruto, why don't you just listen to me? I know what I had done was bad, and I am deeply sorry for it. Please, drop this whole charade and come peacefully to Konoha," she offered, with Naruto not responding, even through his emotions, as the two jumped away from one another. "We can a family, a real family, with me and your little brother. I would even help you find a suitable wife and reinstate you as an Uzumaki of Konoha. Please, Sachi, just enough of this," Naruto simply stated, as he rushed at Kushina at his full speed, practically fading away from the sight, before his voice was heard again. Uzumaki Kenjutsu, Tsubame ga Ishi. Kushina's eyes widened, as she caught a sight of three red blade moving towards her at a great speed and slamming into her body. Throat and kidneys, those were the strikes that had been hit by Naruto, as he reappeared in the world, looking at Kushina, who was reeling from the effects of what usually is a certain killing move. With some difficulty, she rose up from her place, nurturing her bruised neck and sides, looking at Naruto, who didn't even spare a glance at her, moving away towards the stands. As they did so, Tsunade looked at Tsuji and his wife, speaking up. "Well, Tsuji Okada, you are hired." Tsunade simply stated to him. "Gotta say, I had my own doubts that Yushin Zengami were as good as they say, but after seeing this... well, now I see why Water Daimyo regards you so highly. It is an honor to hear that from one of the Sunins and best medic in world, Lady Hokage." Tsuji simply said to her in his humble manner. "As I understand it, it is now my task to effectively rebuild and reorganize the work of Konoha's police force from the scratch, if I am not mistaken." "No, you are not," Tsunade said to him simply, with Jiraiya hearing of this one and speaking up. "Wait, Tsunade, you are planning on rebuilding Konoha's police force? Konoha doesn't have that many shinobi to spare, and council sure as hell won't be actually for this, not to mention..." Jiraiya began to list the things that weren't going to go well with this sudden idea, before he was stopped by Tsunade. "Jiraiya, are you the current Hokage of Konoha?" she simply asked of him, with him shaking his head at this one. "No, you are not. And if memory serves me well, Hokage is in full right to administer whatever needed institutions that he or she finds needed for the village's prosperity. And having something as basic as a bloody police force in our village, who would keep the criminal elements and other unsavory stuff under check? Plus, it will also keep the public baths and hot springs safe from you." Tsunade glared at the white-haired man, who sunk a little bit at the thought of his favorite places now being closed off. Not to mention that it's long overdue that Konoha's civilians got a proper police instead of just random shinobi doing C-ranked patrolling and policing the town, something they aren't exactly fully qualified for. "Quite so, Lady Hokage, considering that work of police is not just in capturing criminals, but in enforcement of the law and order in populace, prevention of crime happening, investigation possible law breaking and more." Tsuji didn't waste time confirming what Tsunade had already thought. This requires specialized training, close knowledge of laws, judicial system, connections with several additional offices and etc. Which is why there are some things I would like to discuss with you, before we get to Konoha, if you have time. I've figured you wouldn't wasting time, considering you are my son's friend. Tsunade simply smiled at this one. "We'll talk tomorrow, on our way to Konoha. By the way, Naruto, what about that second person you wanted to talk to?" Naruto looked at his mother to answer, but he stopped for a second, as if recalling something, but then spoke up. "No worries, I've had a shadow clone to talk to her. We'll meet her in my home, she already went there with her stuff." Naruto informed her, with Jiraiya cocking up a brow upwards. "And who is this her, exactly?" Jiraiya asked skeptically. "Another one of your mercenary friends?" "No, team. She is someone you obviously failed to be for me." Naruto critically answered to him. "She is my former sensei." Meanwhile, at Naruto's home. At a small encampment right near Naruto's house, Konoha's shinobi were sitting there and licking their wounds and pride, having been beaten so soundly by whom they had considered to be the dead last, a cheater, and a general overall weakling. It was hard for Konoha's shinobi to accept the fact of Naruto actually being a son of 4th Hokage, grandson to 5th and direct descendant of 1st and 2nd Hokage, not to mention how they basically had belittled him on his last days in Konoha. Of course, they wouldn't fully acknowledge their entire fault in all this, believing that they were not at full fault there, as they were influenced by their clans, parents, council, and etc. However, deep down inside, some of them knew that Naruto was fully justified in his actions here and that now, after such a long time away from Konoha, he is no longer a prey for them to hunt for. No, he has become a predator, a hunter, with more power than possibly even a Hokage possesses and skill set that could probably match that of his father. And right now, members of Team 7, to whom Naruto paid personal attention during the fight, were now sitting nearby his house, thinking over what had happened yesterday. Sasuke was practically literally seething with anger and rage, with his near-broken body almost shaking from it. This was an utter defeat for him, at the hands of one person he considered be utterly worthless and powerless against him. He would never acknowledge Naruto as equal or superior, never, or he wouldn't be an Uchiha. Yet, this disgrace has humiliated him. An Uchiha, the prodigy of Konoha and its best, maimed and nearly destroyed him like it was nothing. He had demolished his Susanoo, burned away his flesh, arm, and one of his eyes, taking away the ability to properly wield Amaterasu. And what was even more humiliating, is the fact that he literally used his Anton to defeat him. The dope had dared to use what was essentially his clan's true power, and without even Sharingan and Mangekyo, which made it nothing more but a fake. Yet that same fake had cost him an arm and eye, not to mention extreme burns that Karen was reluctant of healing, and even then she didn't restore his former beauty. Gritting his teeth, Sasuke's thoughts raced in his head. Damn that dope. He dares to humiliate, to maim me. Just because he got lucky, does he think it makes him my equal? Think again. Sasuke cast a glance at Naruto's house. Dope showed up when I mentioned his house. So, that worthless idiot has someone precious in there, hasn't he? Well, if I can kill him now, I'll simply punish those that had lowered themselves to his level. Maybe I'll even let his whore of a wife taste a true elite. Smiling maliciously and seeing how Gurren had went away for a bit, Sasuke decided to use this chance, standing up and walking right towards the door. Sasuke-kun, where are you going? You need to rest and... Sakura had tried to stop him, but her own wound still let her know of itself. Shut up, Sakura. I am going to see what that dope has inside, and learn who was dumb enough to be with him. Sasuke snarled, as he went towards the door, with Kakashi actually standing up and moving closer, curious himself. Sasuke with his only hand opened up the door and looked inside, seeing what could only be described as a perfectly normal family house, with several photos of 3 women, 2 kids, and Naruto hanging near. Snarling and glaring at them, Sasuke almost wanted to roar out of frustration, as it seemed like Naruto was not just married, but married to 3 women, and had kids. Kids. Him. How that dead last piece of shit dared to be so happy and have family. And those women looked beautiful, strong, and worthy of his attention, yet they would take Naruto's seed over his. He wouldn't have it, those 3 must be his, but first. Mama. Did you see where Makun is? Shouted out a little girl's voice, who came out of the guest's room and was right in front of Sasuke, who was just looking for her. Yasaka, you know the rules, no tips from me and others while playing hide and. Kurama spoke up, coming out of the kitchen and coming to glances with Sasuke Uchiha, snarling and smirking, immediately putting her on the defenses and taking position in front of her daughter. Yasaka, dear, go to your room now. The commanding voice of Kurama was something that Yasaka understood well. Forgetting about the game and having sensed emotions of Uchiha, she ran right towards her room. So, you are one of Naruto's bitches, aren't you? Sasuke wasn't asking, as much as snarling, meeting the glare of Kurama with his own. Huh, so the dope has a taste at least. No matter, as soon as I've punished him for what he has done, I'll show you what a true elite can do. You would do nicely as one of my wives, along with those 2 others and Karen. Uchiha, I give you half a minute to exit this house and never come in here. Kurama threatened to him, channeling up a small portion of her ki, but enough to overwhelm a single person. Sasuke trembled, sensing the sheer might of ki of this woman, but that didn't deter him. No, instead it only encouraged him, as he smirked and moved to grab her wrist rudely and with crudeness of a barbarian. I like when a woman has some backbone to her. He smiled to her, moving closer to her. Makes it all the better when they submit to. In the very next instant, Sasuke Uchiha, heir to Clan Uchiha and supposedly the greatest prodigy of Konoha, was sent literally flying out of the house and crushing into the dirt. Everyone's eyes were widened at the sight of it, almost not believing what they just witnessed. Landing on his back and spitting out blood after a very strong punch in his stomach, possibly shattering several of his ribs. Kurama walked out of her house, graciously, but also with a posture of extreme power, closing the door behind her. She walked calmly to Sasuke, ignoring the curious and shocked looks of Konoha Shinobi, and took him by his throat with one hand and lifted him up in the without any trouble, a sight that shocked many. And then, she spoke up. I have warned you, Uchiha, to leave my house, but now you will pay for not listening to your better. Kurama brought up her free left hand in front of strangled Sasuke, preparing to exact her own punishment, but was interrupted when she felt her hand being stopped, just as she was channeling up her power. I wouldn't recommend you doing anything that could hurt my pupil, and would you kindly put him down? Kakashi spoke in calm, yet threatening way, hoping to force this red-haired woman to stop. Should you not, and I'll be more than happy to make you regret that decision. His free hand already had sparkles of lighting on itself, indicating that Hatake was ready to channel his rakery into play. Kurama calmly turned to look at now one-eyed man, who had the gall to threaten her in such an open manner. It almost amused her, although she had to recall the fact that only select few knew that she was none other than Kyuubi no Kitsune, the most powerful of Baijuyu upon the land, at her most powerful, capable of destroying countries in a matter of minutes. There have been very few who had ever dared to challenge Kurama to a battle, and only 2 had lived to tell the tale, and this pathetic excuse of Naruto's sensei was nowhere near their level of power, skill, or respect. Considering the fact that Kurama, ever since having been freed by Naruto from her imprisonment in him, has been regaining her power back and was now at her peak, it was the most foolish thing she had heard in years. Even though her being had been split into yin and yang, with yang half ending up in Naruto, Kurama has discovered that right after her release, she was regaining naturally her lost yin half of chakra. Even though Minato had split Kurama essentially into 2 beings, there was nothing that could prevent her halves from regaining their lost power naturally, regenerating it back to what it used to be. Kurama has done so, regaining her lost yin chakra through the most trivial for her regeneration of chakra, while the part that had been taken away from her originally, still remained inside Menma, sealed away by Minato. Essentially, there were now 2 Kyuubi, with one being at its fullest power and free, and the other being sealed away, being only half of Kurama's strength, in a brat that could not even control properly, whilst his brother held a perfect control over Kurama's full power. Kurama looked at Kakashi Hatake with a glare, simply tossing Sasuke Uchiha away like he was nothing more but a trash for her. She spoke up to the man in a deadly serious tone of the voice. You are the man they call Kakashi Hatake, the one that was supposed to train my husband in the past. Kurama saw a confused look upon his face. Threaten me once again, Hatake, and it won't be my Naruto-kun who will be the end of you. And if that Uchiha trash ever enters my home again, I will send him to the rest of his wretched dead clan. Kurama freed herself from Kakashi's grasp and moved towards her house, before she was stopped by Sakura. Hold it right there, Missy. Who the hell do you think you are to threaten Sasuke-kun and insult him like that? I'll make you pay for it. Sakura stood right in front of Kurama and sent her punch towards her, but Kurama easily evaded her and caught her in midair. Let go of me, bitch. Just who the fuck? Without wasting any breath, Kurama's hand casually gripped Sakura's caught fist, crushing to bits her hand, earning an ear-piercing scream from the pinkette, before she was shut up by a single punch to the face from Kurama, breaking her lips, nose, and knocking her out of commission. Sakura. Okay lady, I have warned you once, but now. Just as Kakashi was about to channel up his jutsu, the ground between him and Kurama suddenly became engulfed in red fire that seemed to completely scorch away all it touched. So, this is the infamous Kakashi of the Sharingan, the copycat ninja. Though, I think it's now a former copycat ninja, considering the circumstances. Kakashi and everyone looked at a young woman walking right through fire taking a stance right between him and Kurama. Kurama, mind if I handle this trash? I am sure Yasaka is looking for you already, plus I've got a score to settle with this disgrace of a sensei. Be my guest, Pakura. Kurama merely said, as she went back inside her house. Pakura. You wouldn't happen to be Pakura of Shakutan, the supposedly dead Sunaku no Ichi, killed by Kiri Shinobi about 8 years ago? Kakashi asked of her lazily, yet inside was starting to sweat bullets at a possible prospect of fighting someone who could decimate him 7 ways till Sunday, especially now that his Sharingan was gone. And I don't recall us ever crossing paths with each other in the past, so what kind of a grudge would you have with me? You are right, we haven't crossed paths. Pakura confirmed. However, you and I do have something in common. Hey take, you and I both had trained Naruto, only I had trained him as his real sensei, while you have done nothing more than to make him a punching bag for this Uchiha scum. Wait. You were Naruto's sensei? When did that happen? Kakashi asked of her shocked, as the flames around them continued to burn. Right after he left the Konoha and up until I deemed him to be ready as a true shinobi. Pakura simply answered to him. Now, Naruto had actually told me how you have trained him, and what you had done to him in his past, his own sensei and supposed best student and follower of his father's footsteps. If there is someone I hate more than traitors, it would have to be the scum like you, sensei, that is biased and unjust to his students, ignores them and utterly rotten with himself to the core. You've hurt my student in the past, and I am a woman that doesn't take lightly to that, so I hope you are ready for some payback, Kakashi take. Pakura took up a fighting stance, as she was ready to make Kakashi pay for what he did to Naruto in the past, as his sensei and more. Chapter 7. Kakashi has always considered himself to be someone who could outmatch and outperform most shinobi of Jonin rank. He was the prime student of 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, a born prodigy, made Jonin at the age of 12, and allowed into Umbu at the age of 15, one of the earliest recorded shinobi to be made in Umbu. His skills, multitude of powerful and strong jutsu, coupled with a great deal of experience, have made him a fearsome opponent to deal with for anyone. However, a crucial part of his reputation and strength laid with his possession of Sharingan, which Obito had given to him. With him, every battle for Kakashi was a matter of simply predicting his enemy's next movement and countering it. But, yesterday Naruto had removed his Sharingan, right in the middle of battle and without much of help from outside, and any anesthetic for Kakashi, before shutting down his nervous system through a powerful influx of foreign chakra. Had Naruto still been his apprentice, he probably would have been proud of him, but he wasn't. And to add to Kakashi's injuries, while Shizune had patched him up, he still felt sore and sluggish after the overload of his nerves, not to mention a headache to add to this one. All of that combined with the fact that Kakashi was now facing off against one of the few kunoichi in the entire world that could contend for the title of the deadliest kunoichi in the world, made Kakashi sweat bullets and regret his life at the moment. Pakura was relentless, merciless, and determined like hell to see Kakashi's face in the dirt and her foot on top of his chest, and she was extremely effective against him now. He had heard that she was Suna's mistress of fire, but right now, she was taking him down with just taijutsu, which could rival that of Guy for crying out loud. Just now, Kakashi had tried to punch her with his right fist, only for Pakura catch it easily, and pull Kakashi towards herself, before delivering a high kick to his face. Next up, she effortlessly threw him over her shoulder, landing the silver-haired man just near the edge of her flame. Kakashi groaned from pain, as he rose up, pulling out 3 of his kunai and throwing them right at Pakura. Former Suna's mistress simply ducked underneath them, before quickly rising up and dodging Kakashi's next attack with his kunai in hand. Pakura was naturally more flexible in her movements, though she still had some way to go before she reached the level of Yujito, but right now it was enough to move like water and catch Kakashi once again with his hand in kunai. A quick series of 4 punches in his stomach and ribs, followed by the finishing one in his only looking eye, was enough for Kakashi to lose his grip and drop the kunai, stepping backwards and covering his only eye. Pakura decided that this was enough of taijutsu and without even weaving hand signs, she sent a concentrated torrent of wind right towards Kakashi take. It captured him inside of itself and carried him out of the self-extinguished ring and away from Naruto's house and camp, before he was slammed against the tree, probably breaking a couple of his ribs. Spitting blood through his mask, Kakashi suddenly found himself unable to rise up, as if his entire body was completely paralyzed, but he was completely sure that he hadn't been poisoned in any way. Don't even try to move. With some difficulty he managed to raise his head and see Pakura right in front of him, and some kinds of inscriptions on the ground. 4 symbol paralyzing seal. It may not be the strongest paralysis seal in the world, but this particular variant that Naruto had taught me is capable of holding in its place even someone of low cage level. That should be enough for someone like you. Okay. Listen, I know that you some kind of beef with me, but do you mind explaining what is it that you are so angry with me about? Kakashi asked of her, with Pakura clutching her fist. From what I understand, you were Naruto's sensei, or is at the time, but this isn't the only reason to be angry at me, is it? No, it's only half the reason, Kakashi take. And the other half. 12 years ago, a small fishing village in Land of Rivers, supposedly massacred by Suna's Nukenin Sasori. Your Umbu team was sent there to investigate it. Do you remember what you did back there? Pakura glared right at Kakashi, whose black eye slightly widened at the memory and realization. No. Yes, copycat. Pakura glared at him. That village. It was my home. 12 years ago. Borders between Land of Wind and Land of Rivers. Pakura and her personal unit were running through the woods, as if they were racing against the death itself. The reason for their hurry was the pillar of smoke rising up from the east, close to the sea. Pakura's eyes immediately widened, as she recognized where the smoke was coming from, and without waiting around or any meddling, she leapt right towards the destination. Her unit wasn't far behind her, and if they were to be questioned later on as to why they've abandoned their post, they could tell the truth and state that they were investigating. Land of Rivers was an ally of Land of Wind, and Suna's Shinobi would be the ones patrolling its borders as well, as per missions and contracts. However, right now Pakura wasn't racing against time because of a mission or something. No, she was leaping towards a small fishing village close to Land of Wind's borders, the village that was her home and where most of her childhood had taken place, until she and several other members of her clan were sent to Suna, as a part of agreement between Rivers and Suna. Pakura's clan was a more independent one, not wanting to settle down in a shinobi village, but not stubborn enough as to refuse cooperation with them. Having settled down in the fishing village, heads of the clan established contact with Suna and created good relations with them, consisting of trade, protection, and non-aggression pact from Suna, with clan providing its members as shinobi in their ranks to serve. They would later on be allowed to leave the service after a certain period of time, or continue to remain in Suna as official citizens with some privileges. Pakura was one of those shinobi given to Suna as per agreement, and now she was heading towards her home, praying that everything was alright there. Unfortunately for her, gods and fate weren't on her side today, as she and her unit reached the edge of the forest and saw a terrifying picture before themselves, a small village, less than 30 houses, turned into ashes and ruins, with the ground littered with bodies of men, women, and children, killed by kunao, shuriken, stabs and jutsu. Smell of rotting and burned flesh was present in the air, and some of the weaker shinobi threw up, but not Pakura, frozen in place with a horrified expression upon her face. After several seconds of waiting, she finally spoke up. Look. Spread out. And look for survivors, double time. Pakura had finally composed herself and shouted out orders, with her subordinates immediately moving to execute them, while Pakura immediately headed towards the house of the elder, aka her clan's main house. Without any trouble, she broke through the burned door and went inside, immediately covering her nose from the smells in there. Blood, burned flesh, smoke and ozone? Pakura was no novice and has carried out many missions for Kazekage and Suna, including the ones where she would have to deal with Kyumigakuer and its shinobi. And from her experience, she knew that if you smell ozone in the air, it meant that Raiden Jutsu was used in here. It definitely smells like Raiden here. But why the hell would Kyumo be even doing in here? It is too far away from them, and even Iwa doesn't let itself get so far south. Something doesn't add up here. The only shinobi village in relative proximity to this place, aside from Suna, is... Wait, coughing. Pakura heard a distinct coughing sound and rushed on the second floor, where she found a great deal of smoke and a distinct coughing sound, coming from what could only be a little girl. Futon, great breakthrough. Casting hand signs, Pakura unleashes the stream of wind that clears out the place and lets her see a small black-haired girl, dressed in a simple dress and coughing. Rushing through the embers and small flames, Pakura grabs the girl and leaps out of the house through the wooden window. Once outside, she carefully seats the girl against the fence, letting her cough out the smoke and giving her some water. After all this is done, Pakura looks at her and asks her. Don't worry, you are safe now. We are Suna Shinobi and I am Pakura, daughter of China and Jin. Girl seems to have recognized the names that Pakura gave to her, as she calmed down. I am from this village and a member of Akahi clan. You can trust me, so tell me what has happened here? Who did all this? I was with my mommy and daddy, when suddenly some strange people attacked. They were dressed like shinobi, but had masks on them, animal masks. The girl said, as she coughed a little, with Pakura stiffening up more. Animal masks. Black Ops, no doubt about it. Having been an herself, Pakura knew that only someone of their level would carry out this atrocity. Tell me, did you manage to see something unusual about them? Something that stuck out, like unusual jutsu, looks or something along those lines. Oh, one of them, the leader of them. He had silver hair, spiky hair, and lightning in his hand. And also a red eye, a blood red eye. Girl said to Pakura. He killed my mommy, when we ran to the head house and... It didn't take long until the girl went into a crying fit, with Pakura hugging her, trying to calm her down, while inside, she was boiling with fury and utter anger. Silver spiky hair with red eye, not to mention lightning in hand. Konoha, damn you and your copycat ninja, Kakashi Hatake. Pakura mentally cursed Suna's supposed ally. First you use us as shield against IWA, then you steal our contracts and run us dry, and now this. My home, my clan, and family. Lord Kazekage must hear of this, it cannot stand. I will make you all pay, you Konoha bastards. I'll personally burn all of you away, and as for you, Hatake. I'll drown you in depths of inferno with my own hands for doing this. Flashback end. When Lord Kazekage had heard of it, he refused to make any move against you, Konoha bastards. I demanded that Suna took actions, but he just wouldn't do it. It is too costly for Suna and unneeded, to risk lives of our people and resource to simply avenge a small fishing village. That is what he had told me. Pakura said to Kakashi. And soon after that, I was sent to Kiri as a sacrifice, but the bastard underestimated me and my skill. I didn't get out unscathed, but I was still able to get out of Kiri and, understanding that if I returned to Suna I would be put to sword, I settled down on an island nation close to Whirlpool and Firelands. I am sure you know which I mean, Kakashi. Wave. So Naruto went to Wave right after he was banished, didn't he? Kakashi asked of her. Should VE guessed, but who would VE thought that he would find himself someone like you? As for your village, we VE received information from our sources, that your village was starting to supply renegade elements within Konoha with weapons and resources. Evidences presented to us pointed out that it was true, so Hokage gave us the orders. It was nothing personal. My village lived off of trading with Suna and fishing, and the only weapons that it had were those in hands of my clan, and those were not enough for a battalion of soldiers, much less enough to trade them. Pakura countered. In Suna, I've heard that there was a war hawk in Konoha, hell-bent on taking over Konoha and eradicating any supposed threat to it, and he also had a personal unit of his own. Danzo Shimura, is that the guy that gave your Hokage the information? Pakura could clearly see that she was right in her guess. Makes you wonder, if your third really was a Hokage or not. Still, that does not excuse what you did back then, not one bit. Maybe, but here's what bugging me, if you were in Wave all this time, why not take down Zabuza and Gato on your own? I was away from Wave, visiting some old friends, and when Gato appeared, I decided not to draw any attention to myself and stayed in River for a bit, until I heard of his death. Pakura simply said to him. I may he had been presumed dead, but it wouldn't do if I were to be discovered. And as for how did I found myself my last and best apprentice? Flashback. 7 years and 6 months ago. Land of Wave. Town Port Market. Pakura, dressed in civilian clothing, was walking around the trading stands, looking to buy herself some food and maybe some new cloths from other lands. Ever since the blockade of Wave had been lifted and Gato's company effectively been taken over by Tajuna, now new Wave's daimyo, the trade has boomed like never before, with Wave quickly becoming a trading center in this side of the world. And all thanks to the boy in whose name now Great Bridge stood, connecting Wave and Firelands. While Pakura hated the fact that it was Kakashi Hatake's team that did the deed, she would liked to meet the kid, Naruto, as Tajuna called him, who saved the people here. From what she had heard, that boy was one of a kind, and to be able to bring back hope and will into the entire land. It was something that Pakura could respect. Going through the stands and buying herself fresh fish, rice, and a new set of shoes with a dress, Pakura was right on her way home through the streets. That continued for some time, until she heard something that resembled a brawl in the back corner of the street. Curious as to what the whole ruckus was about, she headed to see what was going on. Once she was there, she saw an interesting picture for herself. About 7 sailors were attacking a kid of 13 or 14 years old, dressed in a horrendous ragged orange jumpsuit, with sun-kissed blonde hair and blue eyes and 3 whiskers on his cheeks, which was dispatching them seemingly without much trouble. It didn't take long for Pakura to catch on that the kid was definitely a shinobi, but it was strange for her to see him not wearing a headband of any villages. However, that little detail quickly left her mind, as her more professional side came out, as she picked up on something that really bugged her, namely, Kid's fighting style. What in Kami's name is this? That Kid's fighting style is just horrendous, worse than this jumpsuit of his. Pakura watched as he clumsily fought against the sailors. Stance is rigid and without any mobility, footwork is not present and the punches and kicks are predictable. If I ever find out who had trained this kid in taijutsu, I'll have words about his teachings. Still, he does have some speed and strength behind his strikes, but such style. Ugh, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought that it was designed just to get this kid killed. Okay, time to end this horror show for my eyes. Without a second thought, Pakura puts down her bags and goes to town with those idiots. Having trained herself into a practically living weapon, Pakura was an expert when it came down to taking down enemies quickly and efficiently. And now she was going to see if she hadn't lost any of her skills, as quickly closed the distance between herself and the sailors. The first 2 of her victims met heads with each other, as Pakura slammed them together. Next one received a quick punch to jaw, before kicking him into the dumpster, with his friend being followed soon, as Pakura struck at his groin and threw him in. As for the last 3, Pakura did a quick series of signs, sending them flying to the wall through wind jutsu. A couple of seconds and all was done, with the blonde kid looking in awe at his unwanted savior, who spoke up herself. "Kid, are you okay there?" Pakura asked of him, with the blonde snapping out of gazing at her. "You mind telling me what a genin like you doing all the way in wave? And just what in Kami's name was it that you were doing here?" Pakura asked of him in full seriousness. "Huh? Oh, I am okay, no worries. And I am not actually a genin, not anymore." Blonde answered to Pakura, with the last part being half whispered with a great deal of sadness, making Pakura raise up her brow. "I mean I was, but about a week ago, I was banished from Konoha." Pakura widened her eyes in surprise at this one, as she couldn't even grasp at why would Konoha banish a genin. "You were banished from Konoha?" Pakura asked again, with the blonde nodding at this one. "Why would your Hokage banish you? Usually, banishment is the second highest penalty for the crimes of treason, treachery, and etc. Did you do something so bad that—" No, I didn't. I simply did what I was tasked for, and those bastards, they. The blonde's sudden outburst and subsequent stutter shocked Pakura, as she could see a great deal of anger and fury inside the boy, but also, sadness, just like with her. For a second, Pakura thought that she had looked at herself in the mirror, only not. The kid must have been simply doing his duty, and in reward, his village decided to get rid of him, just like with her. Pakura's features softened, as she looked with sympathy at the kid, placing a hand on his shoulder and calming him a bit, as she spoke up again. "Kid, you wouldn't happen to be hungry?" The blonde looked up at the woman with a surprise. "I live not too far away from here, so if you help with my bags, I wouldn't mind sharing lunch with you." "Sure." The blonde immediately agreed happily, going to pick up the bags of the woman and leaving the corner with her. "By the way, my name is Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki." Pakura looked with surprise at the boy. "Naruto, the same kid in whose honor that bridge is named after." Pakura received a nod, smiling to him back. "ILLB. Everyone in this town and others are practically preying on your name for what you have done for them, with taking down Gato and his mercs. Tajuna wouldn't shut up about what a great kid you are. You know the old man Tajuna? Wait, the way you fought back there. I don't recall you in Konoha, and you don't have a headband. Are you a Nukenin, like Zabuza? Naruto asked, after stiffening up, with Pakura answering to him. Neither, I was presumed dead after my supposed diplomatic mission to Kiri by my old village of Suna. Pakura answered to him, with Naruto perking his head up at this one. The mission was just a setup, a way to sacrifice me to Kiri as to end hostilities between Suna and them. My killers underestimated me, and I've survived, and since then I've been living here as a civilian. Oh, and my name is Pakura, Pakura of Scorch Release, you may have heard my name. Nope, first time I ever hear it. Naruto simply answered to her, surprising Pakura once again. Looks like your village isn't better than mine. Well, hopefully Gaara can change things up there for the better. I hear he's now a Kaze cage there, so he's bound to make things a lot better there for civilians and shinobi alike. Yeah, I've heard that he is actually highly respected now in Suna. Who would have thought that the kid who was so hated by villagers, would become their leader? Pakura said, catching a glimpse of sadness from the boy. We are almost there. Say, you wouldn't be against telling me what exactly happened between you and Konoha? I am curious, why would they just up and kick you out? Naruto simply nodded to Pakura and the two entered the house. 2 hours later. Pakura had thought that there was nothing that Konoha would be able to do to make her hate it more than before. She was wrong, very wrong. After having a lunch with Naruto and listening to his story, Pakura felt horrified, disgusted and furious at the same time. For Konoha, to utterly destroy and banish its loyal shinobi, just because he was doing his duty, and to make it worse, to reveal to the entire world that he was the Kyuubi, as the village had thought. Konoha, village that was always so arrogant and proud about its bonds of friendship and loyalty, its will of fire and all the crap, and to do such thing to a kid with a potential for greatness. It took everything out of Pakura just not to lash out at the closest furniture and incinerate it in a fit of rage. Having been a teacher and sensei to students and genins of Suna, Pakura has developed a protective nature, one that was now abhorred at how Kakashi Hatake had treated his own student. She silently swore to herself to kill that bastard if she ever got a chance, adding up to what he did to her. After calming down and thinking everything over, Pakura looked at Naruto and spoke up again, interested in learning what he was up to now. Are you going to settle down in Wave for now, Naruto? Pakura asked of him, with Naruto shaking his head. No, I can't do that, not now anyway. You see, there is this group of S-rank missing nins that's after me, plus now that everyone knows that I am Kyuubi's holder, other nations will be after me as well, so I can't stay in one place for long, or they'll get a wind of it. Naruto said to Pakura, who nodded to him. Plus, I doubt that Konoha would let me live in peace. A year or two, and they'll be hunting me down as well, just to keep me away from others. Good point, kid. But in that case, what is your overall plan? Pakura asked of him. Well, recently Kyuubi and I actually established a contact and it said that I should disappear, fake my own death and change my looks. Pakura looked surprised at this one. So, I've got something of a plan on how to do it, so I am heading to Suna, so that Gaara could help me. After that, I'll be heading to Uzushiagakur, where Kaa-chan said is the legacy of my clan and Senju. I see. Pakura couldn't help but admit that it was a solid idea, but there was also one more thing she wanted to do with Naruto now. Naruto, you said that Kakashi team and Jiraiya hadn't trained you in anything, save for tree and water walking, summoning, and raise non of fourth, is that right? And that your academy instructors were the only ones that even trained you in taijutsu. Yeah, Kakashi mainly focused on that bastard Sasuke, and Jiraiya was busy with peeping at women all the time. Naruto grumbled at this one. And as for instructors, they didn't really train me, as much as they've beaten me to the pulp. That explains why your taijutsu was so horrendously atrocious. All of those moves were fast and strong, yet with that style, you should be dead already. The fact that you even made use of it effectively just says what a gem those bastards tried to kill. Pakura let out a sigh, catching Naruto's surprised look. Why are you looking so surprised? I've been an academy instructor and teacher in Suna for 8 years, right after I became a Chunin, so I've got an eye for hidden talents and promising people. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, are one such kid. You really think so? Definitely, but, much like any diamond, you need to shaped up by a professional, someone who understands that just teamwork won't get people anywhere, and that individual skills in combination with natural bond of partnership between shinobi is how a team fights. Pakura simply stated with a smile to Naruto. I've trained over 50 students in the Academy of Suna, and made 12 genins into chunins. And now, Naruto, I would like to make you an offer. I want to train you to be a real shinobi for yourself. Naruto looked shocked at Pakura, who decided to explain myself. Before you ask or say anything, let me tell you, that people like you are rare as rain in the middle of a desert. You are the kind of a person that gives hope to others, inspires and protects those that are down in spirits. I've always aimed to train my students that way, and you are already there, but your skills and training need to be right, if you want to survive out there on your own. Along with that, I would hate it, if someone like you, a person with a heart of gold and will of iron, were to die because he was trained so irresponsibly. I know it sounds strange, but if you want, Naruto, I will be happy to train you as my apprentice and teach you what it means to be a shinobi. Now, would you like that? Why yes, I do. I want it, Pakura-sensei. Thank you. Naruto smiled, as he bowed respectfully before Naruto, with Pakura smiling at her new apprentice. Flashback end. And, unlike you and those imbeciles, I've done my job right and trained Naruto in all I could give him and more. Pakura stated to Kakashi, as she took out her kunao and began to walk towards him. Now, I know that Naruto has more than enough reasons to deal with you personally. But knowing him, he wouldn't mind if I took care of a trash like you personally. To kill innocent and children en masse, to twist your sensei's teachings for your own good and use his name as excuse, and to abandon your student when he needed you most. Scumbags like you do not deserve to live, Kakashi Hatake. Pakura said with hatred, as she was ready to slash his throat open, when Severe Leaf Hurricane. Hearing the coming of the green wild beast of Konoha, Pakura instantly jumped away from her spot, which was immediately occupied by Might Guy, who immediately took up a fighting stance. No one will kill Kakashi while I am around, his eternal youthful rival, Konoha's beautiful green beast, Might Guy. And you, the treacherous teacher of that demon, will learn the true meaning of youth, friendship, and honor, through my fists. Guy was ready to deliver divine punishment upon Pakura, who simply took up her own fighting stance. The infamous beast of Konoha, Might Guy. Naruto had told me about you, specifically your obsessive idiocy, along with what you had done to him and his friend Yakumo. Pakura began to channel up her own chakra, as the flames began to appear around her body. To hurt innocent children so much, to try and murder them out of blind stupidity and rage. People like you are one of the reasons why I had become a teacher, so I could see to it, that your kind doesn't hurt children. And for what you have done, for what the sins you've committed, I'll be sending you to hell personally. Shakutan, Kagetsuki no Yorawi. A quick series of hand signs, and Pakura's entire body was immediately engulfed in the bright red flames, covering her body and clothing in an aura of hot as hell flames, like with Raito no Yorawi. The flaming armor of fire god. Well, if that is how you wish to do it, I must answer to this challenge with my own flames of youth. Sixth gate of view, open. And with that shout, an extremely powerful green aura around Guy was formed, as 6 out of 8 inner gates had opened up inside of him, and he looked at Pakura. Now, in this form, I shall personally make you regret ever meeting that demon and Guy, Kakashi, what in the fucking hell is going on in here? Suddenly, came the powerful booming voice of Tsunade Senju, drawing looks towards her, Naruto, Tsuji Okada, Hana Okada, Mikoto Sarutobi, Kushina Uzumaki and Jiraiya. I gave clear orders as to not provoke anyone in here, and what do I find out when Naruto teleports us here? Sasuke Uchiha had tried to hurt Naruto's family, and you didn't stop him. And top it off, you've threatened my granddaughter-in-law. Tsunade's chakra spiked with her ki, while Guy closed all of his gates back. Guy, if I ever hear again about you calling Naruto a demon, or that UVE attacked his family or friends, I'll personally close those tenketsu for you permanently. And as for you, hey take, I'll have personal dialogue about those teamwork values UVE been preaching about, once we reach Konoha. Now, you are the one whom Naruto mentioned as his sensei, Pakura of Shakutan. Yes, I am. I am honored to make your acquaintance, Tsunade Senju, and glad to finally meet you in person. Pakura made a small bow to her, dispelling her armor as well. Naruto had told me a great deal about you, and I thank you for everything you've done to my former student. And it's a great honor to meet the one who introduced medical education into schools. Well, I am not one to brag, but it's a pleasure to meet you as well, Pakura. I've heard about your experience as a teacher and sensei, and must say that I am almost jealous of you. Tsunade chuckled a little. Now, I assume you've been informed about Daimyo hiring Naruto as an independent aide to Konoha, and that you'll be considered a part of his group, if you come with us. Yes, Naruto's clone was extremely detailed in his descriptions, so I am well informed. Pakura confirmed it all. It has been a long while since I've had my feet wet on a mission, plus I am curious about Konoha's educational system, so I am more than happy to tag along with my former student on this kind of mission, even if it means working with the likes of Frog Trash here and traitors to one's blood. Pakura glared at fuming Jiraiya and Kushina. Why you? Just who the hell are you to call me that? A disgraced Tsuna Kunoichi who was so worthless, that Tsuna had traded her with Kiri for peace. Jiraiya shot back at Pakura. I'll have you know, that I have trained the 4th Hokage, and soon will finish up training the 6th one too, while what have you achieved? Training 54 students that have become Chiryunin on their first year as Genin, 12 Genins that are now respected Jonin instructors, 3 of whom are in Umbu and 1 running Suna's academy. And I have trained one of world's most famous Ronins and the man that had part in saving an entire country from collapse. Pakura answered simply, without missing beat. I never aimed to train a Kage, or to become famous. My only goal was to properly teach children in arts of being a shinobi, with hopes that they do not have to live with the sins of their predecessors, and make their own way in life. This is what a sensei and teacher must aspire to, not simply training 1 or 2 persons into being Hokage. And if you think that I'll allow that disgrace of a shinobi become Hokage, Jiraiya, you may as well be going senile. Tsunade glared at him. Menma may be holding some of Minato's talent, but his arrogance and that demmed stubbornness is worse than yours, not to mention that pride of his and how he carries himself. Just looking at him somehow makes me glad that you didn't erase Naruto, Kushina. Menma may have some small shortcomings, but he is just as genius as Minato was if not more, Tsunade. And you can deny him his rightful status as Senju and Uzumaki head, no matter how you try. Kushina glared at Tsunade. He holds Minato's in my blood of founders of his clans, so you have no right to. Head of Senju is still me, and it is up to me to decide who will become the next head, not up to you or that demmed council. Tsunade reminded to Kushina. And as for head of Uzumaki clan, or Uzukage, as it is traditionally called. I may not be a full-blooded Uzumaki, but from Mito Baa-chan, I know that the sacred right of being an Uzukage rests with one who holds Zanjutsu, one of 3 founding sacred relics of Uzukage. The 2 others were lost, but Zanjutsu remains, and you know as well as I do who holds it, Kushina. Kushina stiffened up at the mention of it, with Naruto, meanwhile, dispelling the 4-symbol paralysis seal for Kakashi. Hey take, threaten my wife again, or if I see that Uchiha scumbag of yours near her or my family, I'll be coming not just for your eye, but for your head. Naruto threatens his former sensei, before teleporting away from him and to his house. In a flash of black and red, he stood right in front of his home, with Sasuke and Sakura again trying to break into the house, even though this time Gurren and Karen were there to stop them. Motioning them to stand aside, Naruto made his way to his 2 former teammates, his ki practically flooding the entire area, drawing attention from those 2 to him and of the others. Sasuke smirked, with Sakura, who had healed her hand, already screaming at Naruto. Naruto! One of your bitches had hurt Sasuke-kun, so get her out of there, so that I can punish her. And those 2 other women, get them out as well, before I make you regret ever lifting your finger against Sasuke and stealing what is rightfully Without any words, Naruto grabbed Sakura by her throat and lifted her up without any trouble, shocking even Sasuke at this one. You are such an annoying bitch, Sakura. And without any trouble or hesitation, Naruto snaps her neck with simple move of his hand, ending the miserable existence of one called Sakura Haruno, whose body simply hit the ground before Naruto, Karin, and Gurren. ILLB. I've been waiting to shut her up for so long, Karin said with satisfaction. Naruto, give the time, I'll rock your bloody world. Date and place, and I'll bone your dry. Karin stated with confidence and determination. You do remember that you are cousins, right? Gurren reminded to her friend of that little fact. We are from two very distant branches, I've checked. We've got little in terms of actual blood relation, aside from being of one clan. In my eyes, after all he has done to me and saved me, he is the guy I would only be with. Karin simply stated, adjusting her glasses. Naruto, you monster. How could you just kill Sakura like that? Ino screamed at him. You've loved her, and now you just. Looks like you really have changed, Naruto. Shikamaru said coldly, standing up. Naruto, that we used to know, would never kill someone just because they were troublesome. But you. You really are a demon, it would seem. To kill Kiba first, and now Sakura. You won't get away with either of those, I can assure you. The council will. Shikamaru, if you haven't noticed, I don't answer to your council, only to Daimyo and Hokage. And as for Kiba, that rabid dog had it coming for years, and Sakura had assaulted my wife for defending our family. Speaking of which, Naruto turned his gaze at Sasuke, who was seething with fury, before he met the full force of Naruto's ki, making him shiver in fear. First you try to kill me, and now that you can kill me, you go after my children and wives? Was that something that Kakashi had taught you, or is this just how Uchihas fight their wars and battles, I wonder? Dub, you think you'll get away with something like that? Once council hears of it, they'll hang you up on the rope, and as for your whores, they'll only be happy to give them to me, the elite Uchiha. And as for your little bastards, they'll answer for their father's sins once I breed your bitches properly enough. I'll even make them witness how their mothers are brought down before the might of Uchiha and made to carry my seed instead of yours. Sasuke snarled with a smirk, not noticing how Naruto was channeling medical chakra in his left hand. You don't deserve to even breathe the same air as I do, and you most certainly don't deserve to have a family and children. Believe me, once we are back in Konoha, the council will do just what I say to them, and you will pay for all this with your life, dub. Sasuke, Sasuke. You know what is funny? Naruto suddenly asked of him. You are the person I would love to kill the most, but if I were to do so right now, I wouldn't be able to savor it. No, I'll keep you alive, make sure that you witness your own destruction, how you are mixed with shit and dirt, made to beg for death. And once you are on your knees, begging for death, I'll give you my permission to die. But until then, I'll make sure that there won't be any more degenerates like you. With that, Naruto quickly paralyzed Sasuke with his right hand, and his left hand went to Sasuke's groin, pushing into Uchiha's pride and personal glory the destructive energy. Unable to move, Sasuke could only watch in horror how Naruto's Ryo ninjutsu went inside of his crotch and sack of balls, before he felt like he was being rotted from inside out. He screamed in internal pain, dropping onto the ground and holding onto his groin with his only hand, feeling how the tool that he intended to use for repopulating his clan was rotting away, literally. Naruto cleaned up his hands with water jutsu, looking at the crawling Sasuke Uchiha, as he had tried desperately to hold his manhood together, but failing miserably. Karin simply looked away disgusted, while Gurren was more curious as to what Naruto did to him. Naruto, what was that jutsu you just pulled off on him? It looks terrifyingly painful. Gurren simply stated, with Naruto speaking up. This is something I've actually came up with, when I was just starting to learn Ryo ninjutsu. You know why medics need to have a perfect chakra control, so that we can channel healing chakra properly into a body and accelerate regenerative properties of cells, right? Gurren nodded to this one, having learned a couple of things whilst being Tsunade's bodyguard. Well, Whilst I was training on wounded and dead wildlife in Uzu, I quickly found out that if you overload medically charged chakra into a body, the cells will not only begin to reproduce at an accelerated rate, but will mutate and reproduce at a deadly rate, before dying away in a matter of seconds. Think of it as a cancer on Red Bull and steroids, but with also on acid, kinda. Anyway, the important part about all of this is that Sasuke's reproductive system has experienced upon itself the entire process of being cancerous in a matter of a second, before rotting away due to cellular destruction. And they say raise non is dangerous, heh. Get something like this in between your legs, and you won't be getting any fun from it. Naruto simply chuckled, looking at a horrified expression of Gurren and Karen. Shit. And I thought Orochimaru was dark, but this. You know that you can be scary at times, Naruto, right? Gurren said to him, with Naruto simply shrugging it off. Does Tsunade know about your? I call it hand of corruption, since it does basically corrupt cells to its worst state. And yes, she knows. I even taught to her, which is easy to learn, actually. It's a C rank in difficulty, but one that can be as effective as the S rank. Naruto simply stated, making Gurren and Karen gulp. Don't worry, I would never use it on you too. You are far too beautiful for something as gross and atrocious. That one comment had gotten them red as tomatoes. And as for Sasuke Uchiha here. Well, Karen, you can thank me later for this ineffective end to Uchiha clan. Oh, I am sure I can think of more than just a few ways to thank you, cousin. Karen licked her lips seductively. After all, I've been also studying the Iryo ninjutsu, and how to prolong and enhance the act, if you know my terms. First discuss it with Kurama and others, then we can talk about it, Karen. Naruto simply stated, as he has had enough and went inside of his house, deciding to start making preparations for departure. Chapter 8. Next morning. Naruto, having packed up all of the necessary things and belongings into sealing scrolls, looked back at his house, standing at the exit. His wives and children already had exited, but he decided to linger just a little bit longer, looking at the place that has truly become his home, a real home. Back in Konoha, his home, if can be called that, was nothing more but a place where he could sleep, eat, and nothing more. A slump of a house, where rats, roaches and other things also lived, with his locks most often gone and furniture on the brink of destruction, or already ruined for good. Hiruzen had placed the boy in there soon after retrieving him from Kurane, after sealing away Naruto's memories, as an insurance. Yet, either the old Hokage had thought that Naruto was capable of surviving on his own there, or he had a different motive for this action. It is too late to ask him now, and Naruto doesn't burn with desire to use Edo Tensei to bring Hiruzen back for answers, even though he could do so without much trouble now. Looking at a comfortable, warm, and caring environment of his home, a smile came Naruto's face. When Naruto and Kurama first came here near 5 years ago and with Yasaka on her way, Tajuna had ordered for a house to be built for Naruto and his family. Uzumaki had wanted to pay the full price, but Tajuna would not accept it and did it for free, putting the best builders and himself to work on this place. And it turned out to be the place that now housed Naruto's most precious and heartwarming memories, official marriages to Yujito and Madatabi, first words and steps of Yasaka and Masamune, days and nights filled with love, care, and happiness. This is the place that Naruto had truly called his home, a place where he rushed to return after a mission. Here he had celebrated not only his birthday, for the first time in life, but also his children's and been himself, not Hanzo Hattori, the persona and a mask he had made for himself. And now, he was departing from it, going back to one place that he considered to be much less of a home and far more of a war zone for himself. Letting out a sigh, Naruto felt the soft hands of Yujito land upon his shoulder, making him look in her eyes and smile. Feeling nostalgic, Naruto? She asked of him softly, already knowing the answer. Yeah. Naruto admitted to her, looking around the place. You know how I've lived in Konoha, Yuji-chan. And while I had grown somewhat accustomed to it and later on to camps and tents and other means of living on the road, this place. It has become the place where I could feel my soul rest, where I truly felt at home, with you, Kura-chan and Mata-chan, our children. Would you believe me if I had told that I didn't even understand what a true home really is? I would, love, since I was the same way. Yujito smiled to him, hugging him from behind. Back in Kumo, I too had lived in a flat, though it had a much better condition to it and it had all the comfortable features to it, but whenever I returned there, I felt emptiness and coldness within it, nothing that was heartwarming about it, no matter how well decorated it was or not. And here, with you, the girls and kids, my heart felt like a small sun, surrounded by all of you and warming up to new heights. Yujito let out a happy sigh, hugging her husband closer to herself, with Naruto taking her hand into his own. Naruto, promise that once all this is over, we will come back here. Return to our home. Promise me. I promise, Yujito. Naruto promised to his wife, and himself, that they will return to their home. What? Both blondes had heard a distinct shout of Kushina Uzumaki, making them immediately turn towards the source of the shout, with Naruto going outside. Once he exited the house, he saw how Kushina, Kakashi, and Jiraiya looked with shocked and widened eyes at Yasaka and Masamune, who were hiding behind Kurama. The fiery-haired woman placed herself between children and Kushina, showing clearly with her posture that she wanted to let Kushina take another step towards them. Yujito immediately went to Masamune's side, who with his sister looked frightened by the sudden shift of common attention towards him, whilst Madatabi took a position near Kurama, with Karin, Kurane, and Anko joining in, while Tsunade was on her way to deal with this as well. Naruto's face changed into one of stone, as he moved to his wife's side and spoke up. What's this all about, Kushina? Why are you, Jiraiya and Kakashi are eyeing my children like hawks? Naruto was clearly not in the mood to deal with this, especially with Kakashi after what Naruto did to Sakura and Sasuke. And Naruto, those children. They are yours. She all but screamed at him in disbelief. But they look like Tsunade and Minato and not me. And this hussy here claims to be your wife. Naruto, explain yourself. I've got nothing to explain myself for, Kushina. And if you call Kurama, Madatabi, and Yujito in any disrespectful and insulting way, I'll make sure that you regret it, period. The same goes for all of you here, believe it. Naruto wasn't going to let anyone insult his family. And as for looks, blood of Senju seems to be more dominant in them and me, which I consider to be actually a blessing. Naruto, do you even know what they are? These kids, if they really are your children, they are the new generation of both Uzumaki and Senju clans. They need to be properly brought up, for it is their destiny to lead those clans, and it doesn't seem like you were doing a good job, as they just hide behind their mother's skirts. Jiraiya argued, ignoring a heated glare from two mothers of said children towards his persona. Naruto, the fact that you are both married and have children changes everything. Now, you must return to Konoha and stay there. Even though those wives of yours aren't official by Konoha's laws, the children are yours and with them in Konoha, we can rebuild both clans in Konoha, restore them and... Jiraiya. Naruto flared up his chakra, his eyes locked upon his former sensei and godfather. My children will never be used as pawns by Konoha and its council. I know what game you, Kakashi and all the others will be playing, once my children get within Konoha's walls, and I am telling you this right now. My family will not be manipulated by you and others. And while I am not an official Senju per se, I am an Uzumaki, and a rightful hold of title Uzukage, so by all laws, I am the one who decides the fate of Uzumaki, not you, not the council, and certainly not her. Naruto looked at Kushina, who decided to retort to him. Naruto, just the fact of you holding Zanjutsu does not make you Uzukage, believe me. By laws of Konoha, you are merely a part of my clan, Clan Uzumaki of Konohagakure, and these children will be the part of it, once we get back there, but not those, concubines of yours. Kushina glared at the three women, before returning her gaze to Naruto. I'll see to it to find a suitable rightful wife, while these women will have to content with the place of mistresses, unless I decide to get rid of them and... I think you will find that to be far harder than you think, Kushina of Konohagakure, or whatever you prefer. Kurama wasn't going to just stand idly and listen to her former container spew venom out of her mouth like that, as she glared at her and flared up a small portion of her power as the means of intimidation. You can revel in whatever illusions your mind has created for you, but let me tell you this, You hold no power whatsoever, not over me, Naruto, or my children. And I doubt that any remaining Uzumaki will accept someone as vain, short-sighted, and delirious as their leader. Kurama, was it? Who do you think you are, talking to your head like that? I am of main branch of Uzumaki and direct descendant of Masamune and Yukihime Uzumaki, and just like Karen here, you are to obey me. Kushina glared at Kurama, stepping closer to the children. Now, hand over my grandchildren before. In the next second, Kushina's neck touched with Zanjutsu's blade, with Naruto glaring at her. Last warning, Kushina, one more step towards my family, and I will end you. Naruto made it perfectly clear that he wasn't joking around, with Kakashi speaking up. Looks like you've finally lost all sense of loyalty and morality, if you are willing to kill your own teammates and threaten your own mother, Naruto. Kakashi glared at his former apprentice. Minato-sensei must be ashamed of you in heaven, for his son to become such trash. No, I assure you, that the only things he is really ashamed of are how Konoha had drowned itself in corruption, how this woman had all but tried to have me killed and you, Kakashi. Naruto turned his glare towards him, with Kakashi glaring back. Always speaking of need of teamwork, how friendship is important among teammates. When you yourself have been nothing more but a stuck-up jerk, prideful and overconfident in your own power that you ignored both Obito and Rin. Kakashi widened his eye when he heard their names. You may say that you try to honor them, but in reality, the only one you seek to honor is yourself, especially with Sasuke. Training him individually, teaching him Chidori, how best to use Sharingan and more. How did it turn out in the end? That bastard had killed his own genin team, and if you need any proof of that, go and look at Mikoto right there, the only survivor of what happened. Face it, you didn't give a damn about me and Sakura, and you are only angry at me just because I am stronger than you and your prime apprentice combined, and I grew this strong without any of your help. And my father knows about it all, trust me. Naruto, as your mother and a true head of Uzumaki, I demand that you give me this weapon and... Will shut your mouth, Kushina. Karen snapped at her all of a sudden. Always bloody acting so high and mighty, practically forcing me underneath that jerk Menma, or trying to sell me off to Uchiha scumbag. No damned Uzumaki would ever do that, and you want to know something interesting about leadership? A leader maintains command for as long as his subordinates acknowledge in their mind and heart him as someone capable of that. And the same stands for clans too. Members of lesser branches stop seeing their leader as someone worthy, and they no longer have any power and sway over them. And I, the only other Uzumaki in Konoha, do not acknowledge you as the head of Uzumaki. Kushina looked like she was slapped across the face. You may be the Uzumaki of Konohagakuer with Menma, so be it. But I am Karen of true Uzumaki clan, and my Uzukage stands right here, holding his rightful weapon. So if you want to kick me out of your clan, be my guest. Karen, do you even realize just what you are saying, you little, ungrateful? Kushina was about to explode, before Jiraiya spoke up. Naruto, you are either mental or just stupid, if you think that we and Tsunade will allow something like that to pass. What you are doing here? You are breaking your own clan into two with this rebellion. Jiraiya glared at his former apprentice. You better apologize to her now, acknowledge her as your head and Menma as your better, and do as she says, or otherwise. Or otherwise I'll charge you three here with treason and assault of Daimyo's official subordinate. Tsunade said with a cold and absolutely terrifying way, making her presence known. I may not be an Uzumaki, but I know the rules, and by them, Naruto is the real Uzukage, Kushina, so zip it. You want to start your own clan, be my guest, but I'll first kill you and Jiraiya here before I let you use my grandchildren as your own pawns. And if you think that council will support you in this endeavor, remember, that internal matters of clans are beyond their reach. Now get out of my sight you three. Tsunade commanded, and Jiraiya with Kakashi complied while Kushina remained. Don't test my patience, Kushina. I will not move, not unless my grandchildren and my son accompany me, Tsunade. Kushina made it clear that she was serious. Those women here can go on ahead, but unless I am with my own family during the way, I will not leave. Then you can just stay in this spot for the rest of your days, because the moment I decide you can travel alongside my grandchildren, will be the day skies start raining blood and fire. Now, get out of my sight. Tsunade flared up her chakra and made sure that Kushina got out of her sight immediately, which she decided to do, before her features softened up and she turned to her grandkids. Don't worry, my little munchkins. As long as your Baa-chan is near, she will not be able to touch you, nor will any of them will dare to harm you. Tsunade smiled to them, as the kids calmed down and Yasaka turned to her parents. Mama, this lady. She called Papa her son, but Papa is Baa-chan's son. Why would she call Papa like that and why does she call us her grandchildren? Yasaka asked of her mother, with Kurama looking at her and speaking up to her. Yasaka, my sweet light-kissed son. This is hard to explain, and you'll best understand it when you are grown up, but that woman, Kushina Uzumaki, she is Papa's mother, in blood, but not in action and deeds. Kurama saw a confused look upon her daughter and smiled to her. There are two types of mothers, dear. The ones that give life to children, and the ones that raise and cares for those children, and I am both of them, while your Baa-chan is the second type. But that woman is the first type, who gave life to Papa, but did not raise him. The women that do such thing cannot even be called mothers, Yasaka, because abandoning one's child is not just bad, but is evil, cruel, and vile. Only a very bad woman, a cruel and atrocious one, will do it, and when they do that, they lose the right to be called a real mother and call those they gave birth to their children. Do you understand what I mean, my dear? Kurama asked of her daughter, who seemed in thought for a bit, before she turned to her father. Papa, did that woman abandon you? Yasaka asked in a sad voice, with Naruto speaking up, kneeling before his kids. Yes, she did, and she did bad things to me too. And now she wants to make it look like nothing had happened and that she is my mother in both blood and actions, but she is not. Naruto confirmed. What your mama said here is true, all of it, Ya-chan. A real mother, one that is the true is one that cares and loves her children, like your mama for you and Yujito-chan for Masamune. Same goes for fathers as well, and because of what had happened to me when I was your age, I swore to myself and your mothers, that I would never abandon my children, nor will I ignore them in favor of duty or even a particular one of you. If I did that, I would be as bad as this woman. But what about your papa? Masamune asked of Naruto, who smiled to his son. You remember the tales I told you about him, right? My father. While he was a great hero and someone I still look up to, he didn't have the chance to raise me, because he was gone before I could remember him, not like my blood mother, but like the old people you see on the streets that say that they soon will have to go and they never return. Naruto tried to explain to his children, clearly struggling with the need of telling them of a concept of life and death. Masamune, Yasaka, no one will live forever, everything has its time on this land. And much like the flowers that grow, bloom and later on, wither away, so too do the people, and the same came to be with my dad. I am not trying to scare, but I just want you to understand that nothing will last forever. It is hard to completely understand this all for you now, but once you grow up, you will understand it better, I promise you. So, a mother that gives life to her baby, but later abandons it isn't a mother anymore. And the mother that cares and loves her baby is the real mother, even if she did give birth to it, is that right? Yasaka asked with Kurama smiling and kissing her forehead, internally beaming with pride at how smart her daughter is. Yes, Yasaka, you said right. Kurama said to her. Now, I think we should already be on our way. All our things are packed up and sealed. Now the only thing remaining is how to transport you two dears. We'll be traveling very fast and you won't be able to keep up. I've got this one, Kurama. Naruto simply said, as without even any seals, two of his shadow clones appeared and picked up both of the kids. Oh, and I've almost forgotten that you could do those, Naruto. Anko smiled to him, before leaning to his ear and whispering. So, do your ladies make use of them, so as to not feel left out of action? Anko asked seductively, with Madatabi catching this one and deciding to pay Anko with her own coin, as she leaned to her and whispered. If you are so interested, then why not join up the next time? I am sure you would fit right in, but a fair warning, Naruto can be such a beast in bed, that he alone can run us past our limits. Madatabi suggested with a seductive smile and voice, making Anko shudder a little and blush at this one. You have heard of Uzumaki's endurance and stamina, and Naruto is most certainly their finest man. Even his clones often leave us exhausted, but oh so full of satisfaction and pleasure. Madatabi disconnected from Anko, leaving her with much think about, while Nibi looked completely innocent, with Naruto deciding not to address this one, as he and the rest of his entourage have hit the road on a shinobi speed, leaving the land of wave for Konohagakure no Sato. Evening. A hotel. The road towards Konohagakure was a relatively fast one and there were no accidents that would have happened, though not for the lack of trying. During traveling, the news of Naruto's family and him having children had spread like wildfire and it has sparked an unhealthy interest in them from Asuma, Sasuke, Kakashi, Guy, not to mention Kushina and Jiraiya, along with some of Konoha former genins. Some of them, like Guy and Kakashi, had tried to get in closer to them, but the fact that Naruto's clones were quite clear about what would happen to the two Jonins, and that Tsunade, Gurren, and Karen were constantly near the two, stopped any ill intentions right at the beginning, but that didn't mean that children weren't watched by many pairs of eyes. Along with that, during the trip, Mikoto Sarutobi and Hana had also came into view of Konoha Shinobi, much to shock of everyone, especially Asuma and Sasuke, with the latter snarling and practically moving forward with his hand on his blade. The intentions were clear as day and were sensed by others, specifically Pakura and Tsuji, who didn't waste time in flanking Sasuke and making it clear as a sunny day, that if he had tried to something bad to the girl, loss of his manhood and arm would be the least of his worries. Asuma gritted his teeth in anger at the sight upon the girl, wanting nothing more but to make sure that she paid for disobeying Clan Sarutobi's laws. However, even though his wounds were healed, he didn't want to invoke the wrath of Shinzengami's finest swordsman and someone, who had reportedly killed over 40 shinobi of Jonin rank in Battle of Miyakazama. So, aside from the general negativity directed towards Naruto, his family, and his friends, the travel was proceeding remarkably well, but as the sun had begun to set, so too did Yasaka and Masamune. The two weren't used to traveling over such distances at a high speed, and even though they were being carried, their still young and developing organisms needed to rest and recuperate, and short stops to eat didn't help them recover sufficiently enough. Though, if anything, the kids did hold very admirably and even refused to show the signs of fatigue until it was just plainly clear to their parents and others. Fortunately enough, Naruto knew that the kids wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure of such travel, and the night before leaving, had went through road maps, leading to Konoha, searching for a comfortable place to rest. And a hotel in Ginkgo town just half a day away from Konoha was just what they needed. A good meal, soft beds, and large enough rooms in needed quantities all was found in there, and while Konoha shinobi paid out of their own pockets, Naruto paid for his friends and family out of his own very deep pocket. Having completed primarily missions of ranks of B, A and S, Naruto has made a nice fortune out of the rewards, loot, and more, not to mention also using some of Kurama's saved up treasures, which stored up in safety for centuries. Turns out that his wife is not just a marvelous housekeeper, but also a very careful lady as well, knowing the value of saved up money. One might question the need for a Baijuyo to keep money, but Kurama is anything but your typical concentration of chakra, who had taken form of a large nine-tailed vixen. As the matter of a fact, she is far more comfortable in human form and is accustomed to it far better than to her bestial one, having spent centuries in human form, while the total amount of time spent in her original form could only amount to about 5 to 7 years collectively, probably even less. Kurama had changed dozens upon dozens of looks, but she always remained consistent in her general, core personality and in the fact that she was female. And now the immensely powerful being, who had taken shape and form of a human, decided to step out of her family's suite for some fresh air. Yasaka and Masamune were already fast asleep, with Madatabi and Yujito within 5 meters reach of them, while Naruto has decided to visit a bar with Tsuji, to reminisce a little bit about their past battles and missions. Kurama didn't oppose it, knowing that if trouble were to come, she and girls would easily handle anything, and even if something were to transpire, Naruto would teleport into the room, ready and willing to defend his family. Stepping outside into the balcony, Kurama drew a deep breath, before releasing it, taking in the fresh air of forest and letting it settle in her lungs. She maybe appeared to be more of a city lady, but much like Kokyo, her younger sister known as Gobi, Kurama liked the feeling of nature and forests. Letting out a content sigh, Kurama's frame stiffened up, as her senses have just picked up that she was no longer alone in here. Opening her eyes and turning around, she saw that right in front of her stood Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Kushina. They looked her right in the eye, with deadly seriousness in place and small ki being leaked out of them. Kurama didn't even notice their killing intent, deciding to simply play her part and spoke up. Sneaking up shadows upon a simple woman and a young mother. Kurama simply shook her head. No wonder Konoha shinobi aren't a welcomed sight in these times amongst common masses. You are anything but a simple woman. Kushina glared at her, with Kurama not giving in to intimidation. We've got some questions, and you are going to answer on them, Missy. Like it or not, but until we are done, you won't be leaving this balcony. And don't even try to call up for help. We've already put silencing seals around this balcony, so neither Naruto nor anyone else will hear you, but something tells me that you don't really need anyone's help to take care of yourself, do you? Kakashi narrowed his eye upon Kurama, with simply let out an amused chuckle. First of all, who really you are? You definitely not of Konoha, and you have enough strength and power to send my best student flying out of the house and to break arm to my other student. Only a shinobi of extreme prowess and strength can even hope to do that, I would know, and you definitely not a shinobi of Konoha, so who are you? Why do all your kind think that only a shinobi can beat the other shinobi? Seriously, I know a few samurai who could easily best you three without trouble, and one of them is right here with us underneath this roof. Kurama simply admonished at this fact. Now, and what happens if I decide not to answer any of your questions? I'm not exactly your subordinate, nor have been employed by Konoha, or have any form of allegiance or connection to it at all. I can simply just walk out of here, telling you not a single thing, which is what I think I will do. Kurama simply said to them, as she calmly walked towards the door inside, before she was stopped by Jiraiya, who positioned himself between her and door, with his hands crossed on his chest in a glare upon her. Like Kushina said, you won't be leaving this place, until you answer the questions. And if you decide not to answer them, then we'll just have to use less civilized methods of getting the information out of you. Jiraiya stated to Kurama, who simply raised her eyebrow up at this one. And considering that you are probably one of 4 main reasons why my godson has become such a disrespectful mercenary, I am more than a little compelled to use those methods on you right now. Jiraiya scowled at Kurama, who merely glared at him, not giving in to his intimidation. If you consider me to be part of the reason why Naruto has, so suddenly, changed his mind about your village, then you are as delirious a man as you are a worthless and atrocious author. Kurama replied, touching a nerve of Jiraiya, who restrains himself from hitting this woman. Think whatever you wish, but trust me when I say this, by the time Naruto and I were married, he had less than warm feelings for your village, and considering what its people have done to him, I completely understand him. The only thing that actually amazes me is how he had managed to even survive in such hellhole and not take his own life, just to end it for good. He did tell me what you and this Cyclops here have told him, back in hospital, after he had been verbally tormented and tortured. Did you know that after you, Toad Sage, have left him in room, alone and having berated him about, tarnishing the legacy of 4th Hokage by hurting your teammate and abandoning my teachings? Naruto had wanted to cut his own veins open? He didn't want even to face tomorrow morning, and after all that you others have told him, he has had enough. All his hopes, dreams, aspirations, ideals. All crushed by you, glorious shinobi of Konoha. Hypocrites, liars, warmongers, and traitors, that is what I and Naruto think of you all, and I had nothing to do with his views upon your little village. Konoha and we may be been a bit rash in our judgment of him, but that still doesn't change the fact that Naruto and his children are an essential part to Konoha, and you, along with your friends, are straying him away from it. Jiraiya glared at Kurama, clenching his fist. So listen up here, Red. You are going to tell us who you are, and if we don't like the answers, you can bet that once we reach Konoha, your little Goldilocks girl and that little boy will miss their mommies, since you'll be spending most of your time in interrogation chairs. Jiraiya decided to forego the veiled threats and simply made a clear point to Kurama, who was now holding herself back from killing the man where he stood. And after Ibiki and Inoichi are done with you three, you'll be kicked out of Konoha, with your kids getting used to Kushina as their real grandmother, and Naruto will be happy and smiling, once a new seal is in place upon his. Jiraiya had more to say, but he suddenly found himself unable to speak, a courtesy of Kurama's right hand squeezing his throat, with a murderous look upon her face and a snarl. Kurama was generally a peaceful creature, not one prone to destroying cities, countries, and villages. Had she been that way as people had described her, she wouldn't have had a chance at living a peaceful and quiet life. She had her moment when she had lashed out against mortals, true, but those mortals have made it practically their life's goal to drive her mad or use her for their own needs. Madara Uchiha was the prime example of the latter, with Kushina, with her treatment of Kurama whilst she was inside of her, along with blatant usage of her power like it was her own. And even then, Kurama still maintained some semblance of self-control and restraint upon her wiles. However, all things change, and Kurama is no exception. She was now not just a Kyuubi, but more importantly, a mother and a wife. And with Naruto and her daughter Yasaka came new priorities for her to protect and care for. She could take insults towards herself and shrug it off, but threats towards her children, towards Yasaka and Masamune, towards her Naruto. That is where Kurama's limit laid, and now Jiraiya had crossed it. Flaring up her power without restraint, Kurama's nails and fangs elongated, her hair began to move violently, as 9 red furred tails emerged from her back, with ears popping up on top of her head. Her eyes changed into bloody red with black slits. Kakashi stood frozen in utter fear and terror, having only once felt this intense and utterly crushing might, which was so powerful and pressuring, that it nearly killed him on sight from sheer dread it inspired. Kushina, on the other hand, had felt this power and pressure throughout her life, having been forced to contain it herself within her body and to suppress it in Menma. And now, she felt right in front of her, as the beast she had always feared was right in front of her. Kyuubi, unleashed and unshackled, in human form, but with all its power back within it. And it was now her son's wife. Worthless piece of frog shit, you dare to threaten my children, my husband. I have watched how you and that damned monkey worm have torn apart my love's mind, stole his memories, and left him to those damned villages. Kyuubi spoke in her inhuman voice, belling with strength and power, as she tightened her grip at Jiraiya's throat. You can think of me as a monster, but I had never destroyed anything or anyone without a reason. But you and your damned village. Oh, I would pulverize it to nothing, watch it burn and turn to ashes, crushed to the smithereens, for all the crimes it had committed, and you, Jiraiya of Toads, would watch that rotted piece of corruption brought down to ruin, before I end your miserable little life. Without any warnings, Kurama slams Jiraiya into the floor, almost breaking it, causing the old sage to spit blood out of his mouth, before Kurama grabs him again and speaks to him. Threaten to my family ever again, and you will join your miserable monkey teacher in hell. Kurama easily tossed Jiraiya back into the building, at a speed of a shooting star, before he crushed through several walls. With that being done, Kurama turned around and her red eyes landed upon Kakashi, who was practically cowering in fear before her full might and trying to find a way to escape from powerful entity in front of him and Kushina. However, all of his efforts were in vain and he couldn't find any way to successfully escape her, and Kurama reached Kakashi, gaining a hold over him through her tails and brought him to his knees before herself, as she spoke to him. You, a worthless, arrogant piece of trash, who dares to speak of ideals of friendship, teamwork, and bonds, when you had abandoned them in favor of a traitor and scumbag that should be fed to the dogs. You think that you had known despair, horror, and loss, with those teammates that oh so cherish? Let me show you, what a true terror and true despair are, you piece of trash. A single look in Kakashi's eye, and Kurama cast upon him not any torturing genjutsu, which she had known a few, no. Instead, she decided to show this hypocrite what her husband had been put through his life in Konoha, as she cast upon him memory mirror genjutsu, which allows the transfer of memories in first-person view, experiencing all the emotions and feelings as if they were their own. Kurama had been there with her husband throughout all of his torments and tortures, throughout all the evil and vile he experienced in Konoha, and she remembered it all very well. And now she showed it all to Kakashi, every single memory with each and every tiny little detail included. All of suffering, fear, horror, loss, fury, and despair, all of it Kakashi was now experiencing, as he collapsed upon the ground, freed of Kurama, screaming in utter terror and near madness as he experienced all of Naruto's concealed and hidden mental wounds and scars. No. Stop. Please, I beg of you. I did nothing. I am a human, just like you. Why are you doing this to me? Arg. Kakashi screamed in horrified delirium, sensing, feeling and seeing what his former genin had went through, as his body convulsed upon the floor, as Kurama turned her gaze towards her former jailer. And finally you, my former jailer and traitorous wife and mother. I must say, I have waited a long time for this meeting. Kurama smiled to Kushina, showing her fangs to the red head. What, Fox, got your tongue all of sudden? Nothing to say, Kushina? It is so unlike you, to be speechless. Especially towards your former tenant. Kikuabai. But how in the W world did you get out of Naruto? Kushina had regained herself somewhat, trying to steady herself for the attack and summon of her chakra chains. Minato's seal should ve prevented any and all leaks and attempts at breaking, and you would ve been left without any way out, just like with Menma. Oh, your husband's seal has worked marvelously, better than even he had suspected it would work. Such high level of precision, accuracy, and inscription, not to mention the highest quality of formula and scheme. Had I not known for sure, I would ve taken Minato for an Uzumaki, for that seal puts to shame even their most powerful Six Paths blood seal to shame. Mito would ve been oh so proud of her great-grandson, had she been alive, for creating this seal. Kurama praised Minato with full honesty and respect. It took months for Naruto just to get to understand the formula and the language of it, not to mention all the resources he needed to compile just to survive the process of breaking it, but in the end, Naruto-kun had cracked it and opened the cage up for me, allowing me to go free. Even though he had nearly died in the process, he still went through with it and set me free, after more than 70 years of imprisonment. Yuve tricked my son into breaking the seal. Kushina was abhorred when she heard of it. How could my son do such a thing? Does he have no honor and or responsibility for his duty? You keep your mouth shut about duties and responsibilities, whore. Kurama raised her power to the extreme height, scaring Kushina. Your eldest son is the best that had come out of your rotten womb, and he is 100 times the Jinchuriki you ever were, Kushina, not to mention a far greater person than you and that arrogant shit Menma can ever hope to be. Unlike you, Naruto had listened to me and he understood what had really transpired all those years ago, along with how Madara used me for his own devices. I didn't ask of him to free me, I was content to being forever with him, the first person to ever make me feel truly loved and cared, but he still freed me, granted me one thing I desired more than anything in my life. And do you know what I did in return? I swore upon my father's memory, that I shall forever be his and only his, in heart and soul, as his wife and soulmate. Kushina paled as she understood what Kurama meant. Naruto is not my jailer, but my husband and the man I love. The man that gave the greatest joy of all, the joy of being a mother, something that you do not deserve, Kushina. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that a man as nice and caring as Minato had fallen for someone as vile and unfaithful as you. If you are Naruto's wife, then Yasaka. Kushina realized that her own granddaughter was also a daughter of none other, but Kuabai herself. Yuve seduced my own son and had a child with him. A half-breed and an monster. Kurama's features immediately morphed into one of utter fury, as she grabbed with the speed of light Kushina's flak jacket and pulled her closer to herself. Don't call my daughter a monster, you wretched whore, or I will rip that toungyu out of your mouth. Kurama was clear in her threats and made sure that Kushina understood it well. Your arrogance and ignorance are only matched by the amount of your sins, Kushina, and do not even try to deny. I have lived inside of you and I know all of your crimes and sins that you had committed over your pathetic life. From you betraying your father, mother, sister, and brother, and your entire clan when they needed you most, to how you found yourself in bed with previous daimyo's nephew, siring him a daughter just 15 years ago, giving that wretch Menma a sister. Kushina instantly paled at this one, unable to say anything. I may regained my full power, but I still have connection to that part of power sealed in Menma, so I know all about, as does my husband as well. He knows everything about you, Kushina, and what a rotten whore you really are. Minato didn't deserve to be with someone like you, and I'll make sure that my daughter and Masamune, as well as all of my family and friends are safe from your vile grasp, as well as that village's corrupted hand. And you will be a nice little girl you were always trained to be by those old Konoha fossils, and keep quiet about me. And what makes you think that I'll do as you say? Kushina asked her in cocky fashion, with Kurama not being impressed, though her demonic power subsided and she reverted back to being her human self, as she smiled and spoke again to Kushina. If you really value the lives of your so-called perfect son and that spoiled little princess of a daughter you have, then you will keep quiet and stay away from my family, Kushina. But, if you decide to do otherwise, I can promise you, that what I did to Konoha will be child's play, compared to what I will do to those two. Kurama spoke calmly, without any seeming hostility, but at the same time, she made it crystal clear that she meant business, as Kushina paled and began to shake a little. I won't be needing any Biju Utama or my fully powered form to destroy all that you cherish and love, Kushina. I have lived for over 6,000 years, and over this time, I have mastered many arts, including the art of tormenting and torturing. Your Menma and that girl Mariko will be begging for life, and you will watch all that I will do to them, watch and do nothing, just as you did with your clan, your husband, and your son. You may call me a demon, a monster, and whatever else you want, Kushina, but know this, cross my path again, I will show you, what a true monster I can be. Kurama turned around and walked towards the exit, before remembering something and telling to Kushina. And make sure that these two pieces of shit don't spill it out either. I don't care how you do it, but if they talk, then consider lives of your precious children forfeit. Good night. Kurama said, as she left the balcony, heading towards her room, where her daughter was probably already waiting for her. Meanwhile, in the forest outside of Ginkgo town. So this is the reason why you are in Hinokuni, and why you've sent your shadow clone to me. This is an unexpected turn of events, Naruto. Spoke up the man with whom Naruto was currently speaking with, while his clone was keeping company to Tsuji, with the latter agreement and help. The Fire Daimyo and Hokage have finally had enough of Konoha's actions and attitude. Didn't he think I would live to see the day? Well, you wouldn't have lived, had I not cured you all those years. Naruto replied, letting out a sigh. It may be too late to save Konoha, but at least the current daimyo and tsunade understand, that if Konoha continues act so aggressively and unpardoned, then the next great shinobi war will be the last not just for Konoha, but for Hinokuni as well. If what my informants say is true, then Kumo and Iwa are already starting a partial mobilization of their forces, first as defensive measure, but we both know that this partial mobilization can become a full massive one easily. An all-out war between elemental nations, first of its kind in almost 300 years. It'll dwarf Mizu's civil war within its first week in death toll and wounded. Yes, and war in Mizu has left a lasting impression upon other nations as well, considering the fact of its brutality and absolute madness that had transpired there. Naruto's guest agreed with him. Oniki and A had closely monitored that war, and it would seem that a prospect of such large-scale conflict had cooled their heads quite a bit, which is why they are so open to negotiations with Suna and your friend Kazekage. However, it would seem that Konoha had not learned from horrors of Mizu's civil war, and now is headed towards the nightmare that will eclipse all other tragedies. A seminal catastrophe. Unless it is stopped before the domino chips begin to fall. Naruto stated. The Uchiha clan and its leaders had seen that catastrophe looming over them and all of Hinokuni. I remember well what Fugaku had said on the last meeting back then, about Konoha heading towards hell with its current government. Still can't believe that he hadn't punished me for eavesdropping upon that meeting. He knew that you would keep quiet of it, Naruto, and he wouldn't dare to harm a son of his best friend. The man in black said to him. Sadly, Konoha and its council saw what my clan had planned to do and put me and Shisui to deal with them. How blind I was back then, to have believed Hiruzen and his will of fire. He and council knew that there was no one more loyal to Konoha and its ideals than you, Itachi. Naruto said to Itachi Uchiha, the man responsible for eradicating most of Uchiha clan and betraying the Hidden Leaf village. They simply made use of your loyalty, just like they always did. Though it is a tragedy what had happened, I can't help but ask you, why in 7 hells you did kill Sasuke back then? No offense to you and your mother, Itachi, but Sasuke is one arrogant son of a bitch and what he has done is nothing short of atrocious. You know what he did to Mikato's team, his own genins, and all he ended up with was council kissing up his ass and praising him for avenging them. I had hopes that Sasuke would be able to redeem Clan Uchiha and rebuild it with loyalty and honor towards Konoha. Itachi let out a sigh. And as far as I understand, it is now impossible, due to both moral and physical trouble. Itachi gave a look to Naruto, who simply shrugged it off. Hey, Don T, give me that look. He had it coming for years, and Don T tell me that you would prefer that bastard running around and siring offsprings with his genes and a curse mark on him as well. You remember what I told you about the effects that demmed thing have on human organism, even when not active, and reproductive system is no exception to its influence. Naruto reminded to Itachi of the medical research and autopsy he made on one of Orochimaru's curse-marked experiments. If anything, I did this world a favor, since it wouldn't be able to handle mutated offsprings of the most arrogant and cruel as hell Uchiha since Madara. Well, that is, if those mutants even survived in wombs of their mothers. I see what you mean, Naruto, and considering everything that has transpired, I have no reason to bear any grudge upon you. Itachi stated to him in his usual voice. Now, I believe that 2 members of my organization have traveled to Wave in search of Hanzo Hattori, and have now failed to make contact with us. Would you happen to know anything that had happened to them? If you mean that foul-mouthed Jashinist and his buddy Zombie, then the former head is currently sealed up forever in a special sealing scroll, and the latter had a very bad case of sunburn, extremely bad case of one. Naruto simply stated to Itachi, who simply let out a single chuckle. So, I take it you and the fish cake are going to heading to Wave to investigate/avenge your fallen comrades' deaths. Yes, though Kisame still has a contact in Land of Spring to finish, I shall join him soon to deal with a possible threat to Akatsuki. However, we are given a relatively short amount of time for completing this task, about a week and a half to finish up our dealings. Naruto perked up at hearing this interesting detail. Pain believes that Gobi has finally been reformed and that the time for action is now. He already has a target set. He, or this Madara guy? Naruto asked rhetorically, already knowing the answer to his own question. No matter for now, I have a feeling that their first target is Gaara and Shukaku and Suna. Who will be sent to handle him? Deidara and Sasori. Itachi simply replied, with Naruto nodding to this one. And Pain will also have to start searching for 2 new replacements. I suspect this will be the way for him to let Madara join in, but as for the other spot, I do not know who could be eligible for the position. I've got a couple of ideas in mind about that one. Naruto simply sighed as he recalled all the information he had gathered about Deidara and Sasori. A med bomber, who sees explosions as form of art, and a living puppet, who makes puppets out of humans and even made himself into one. This'll prove to be interesting. Naruto decided that it was time for him to leave, as he felt his wife suddenly flare up a great deal of her power. That's not good, better check what riled Kurama up so much before this hotel goes boom. Yes, you do that. Itachi suddenly sounded enthusiastic all of a sudden about this thing. It is a very good hotel, reasonable prices, comfortable suites, and tasty food, not to mention some of the service stuff there are quite interesting. Naruto did his best not to utterly widen his eyes out at this revelation. And here I thought that nothing can surprise me anymore, but Itachi Uchiha, the least emotionally expressive man on this side of the world, hits on the service stuff of hotel on his free time. What would your mother say about such behavior? Naruto couldn't resist a quip towards Itachi, who merely replied to this one. She would probably be happy that there is proof of me not being gay. At this one Naruto couldn't hold a laugh inside of himself. See you soon, Naruto. With this, Itachi dispersed in a flock of crows. Yeah, till later, Itachi. And with this, Naruto flashed towards his wife, intent on finding out what had pissed her off. Chapter 9. Konoha. Naruto and his group were finally at their end destination, which was the great and mighty Hidden Leaf Village, once a home to Naruto, and now something that he looked upon with contempt and a feeling of unease. He had already made up his mind to work for Daimyo and Tsunade, but that didn't mean that he was all that happy with returning here. No, he wasn't, and now being a far more mature and grown-up person, he didn't see Konoha's greatness in display before them all, but instead, he saw hidden Umbu Black Ops Shinobi, several Chunins, and Jonins, all ready for things to go badly. Naruto, Pakura, and Tsuji, having been tested by Mizu's civil war and having learned a great deal of things from it, were now on guard, even if they didn't show it. Along with that, Naruto couldn't help but laugh in his mind at the fact that Konoha was actually the easiest hidden village to infiltrate. A tested and experienced shinobi, skilled in infiltration and arts of espionage and stealth, would have no trouble determining the best entry and exit points upon a careful examination. Use a couple of seals to hide your chakra from the sensory corp of Konoha and their radar, and you are all set. Naruto, having mastered those arts under Pakura and while working with Mizu's Umbu Black Ops, could do all of those things with ease. Hell, he could easily dispose of those Umbu that were already watching him, as they had given away their locations so easily. Back in Mizu, those Umbu operatives would have faced demotion for such lack of skill. But, Naruto did have to give credit where it was due. Root's agents did hid themselves well, very well, actually. At least someone in Konoha understood the art of stealth, but for Naruto, Pakura, Tsuji, and Yujito, finding them all was actually an easy job. Just as the group had passed through the gates, they were already a center of the civilian attention, gawking and murmuring amongst themselves about how the group that was sent to get Hanzo Hattori looked battered and badly beaten. Especially shocking for people was to see their beloved hero, Sasuke Uchiha, reduced to ugly shell of his former self, crippled and broken. Absence of Kiba and Sakura was also noticed by some, with the former being mentioned by several of Inyazuka clan members within the crowd, who also looked with shock and snarl at Hana, while some of Sarutobi clan members looked at Mikoto with hateful glares. They were met with cold, yet terrifying eyes of Tsuji Okada and a flared-up power of Pakura, enough to scare them off. Kurama and Naruto were on guard, standing close to their children, who weren't very used to being such centers of attention. Naruto, even though he has a different hairstyle, color of hair and was wearing his face guard, did not like at all being the center of the attention of Konoha, considering all the past times when he was one. It's safe to say it had left its mark, as did Kurama upon Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Kushina. She had told Naruto about the encounter upon the balcony, with Naruto deciding that it would be better off for all, he paid them a visit, to correct their memories. Naruto was subjected to 4 memory alteration seals, and he knew very well how to cast them, which he did with Kushina, Kakashi, and Jiraiya, making sure that the information regarding Kurama stayed hidden. Did Naruto feel any sort of guilt, sadness, or remorse for doing such a thing? All Naruto felt was a small satisfaction and sweet taste of an ironic vengeance. As they had passed through the crowd, one person did stand in their way, a person whom Naruto wasn't actually planning on meeting anytime soon, but it looks like he now had to. Tall, dressed in a black and orange jumpsuit, blonde spiky hair with sky blue eyes, 3 whiskers upon the cheeks, headband upon the forehead. For a second, Naruto had thought that he looked at a ghost of himself, but no, he didn't. He looked upon his own twin brother, Menma Namikaze Uzumaki. Hey Kaa-chan, Baa-chan, Pervy Sage, Kakashi-sensei, you are all back. And just as Naruto had suspected, he was a loudmouth. Man, it was boring around here without all of you. Hey, what happened to Sasuke team and where is Sakura-chan with Kiba? Are they being late? They are not, Menma. They are dead. Kushina broke the news down to him, with Menma looking shocked at those. When we were on a mission to recruit Hanzo, that wasn't much of a recruitment, more of a capture without asking. Naruto simply stated, already catching the eye of Menma. So, this is the famous Menma Uzumaki. Just as I thought, not impressive. And you are that Hanzo guy everyone had heard here about, huh? Well, buddy, you chose the wrong people to kill, cause now I'll make sure that you pay for them. Menma, without even as much as a thought, rushed right towards Naruto, already making a raise-non with a shadow clone. Naruto's family, sisters, and friends already moved away from the path, while Tsunade restricted others from moving in to help out Menma, or to stop this fight. He has been driving her mad with his mother for far too long, and she wanted to see Naruto, her real grandson, make him pay. Naruto seemingly looked not amused or even interested, but that was merely the upfront as he carefully studied Menma and how he worked his ways through careful analysis. Just as Naruto had expected, Menma was far more of a brawler than a real shinobi, fighting with his heart and not head. Plus he also seemed to lack a proper control over raise-non, during its formation. A grave weakness, one that Naruto made sure to rectify with himself. Waiting until the last 2 seconds before Rasengan was formed, Naruto unsealed a shuriken from his left wrist and sent it to Menma's clone, hitting him clean the face. And the next second Menma knew it, he was flown towards a small show on his left side, crushing into there. Naruto knew that clone stabilizes the entire process of formation of Rasengan, and that if he is destroyed when the thing is just near its completion, the damage will be received by the caster. Menma didn't probably know of this, or Jiraiya with Kakashi had neglected to mention it to him, if they even knew of it. Either way, with just one shuriken, Naruto already managed to get ahead of his opponent without even moving an inch from his place. Menma jumped out of the shop, spitting out of his mouth. Before he formed a crossed sign, an additional 10 shadow clones of Menma showed up and were ready for the fight. "So, are you ready to give up now, loser?" Menma called out to Naruto, who merely scoffed at him. "I don't know." Naruto merely said with a small chuckle, before he disappeared from the view, shocking Menma. "Are you?" Suddenly, Uzumaki heard Naruto's low voice, and felt cold sharp steel of Kunao pointing at his throat and in his back. How did you?" Menma couldn't believe that Naruto had found him out so easily, especially considering how the smoke from the clones had covered his movements. "Easily, now dispel those clones of yours and get out of our way." Menma did dispel the clones, as Naruto had freed him, but he didn't keep his word and tried to strike at him again, only this time Naruto expected him, catching his fist and with his left hand punching Menma in the gut with such strength, that he fell into the dirt before everyone. "Menma! Naruto, how could you do such a thing to your own twin brother?" Kushina was immediately at her favorite son's side, along with Jiraiya and Kakashi. "Fighting so dirty, and with your own twin brother. If only Minato could see you, he." Jiraiya had wanted to admonish Naruto, but it didn't even do a thing to him. "In case you went blind and moronic, this idiot had tried to attack me with an A-rank jutsu. I could have killed him in 7 different ways, not counting the obvious ones, throughout this little scuffle, and I had a full authority for it, remember." Naruto reminded them all of his own status. "I am beyond your influence, as I work under daimyo, and if anyone decides to attack me in such a manner, or hurt my family, the consequences will be far worse for the attackers than this. Now, if we are done, we should be on our way to our new home." Naruto, his friends, and family were already heading towards the Senju compound, when a Chiryunin came to Tsunade and spoke up. "Lady Hokage, the council has called in a meeting and is demanding your attention, as well as the attention of all those that arrived with you." Chiryunin informed her. "The meeting is taking place as we speak, and they want your presence there immediately." "Those damned arrogant. Demanding something of a Hokage? Have they lost all sense of fear now?" Tsunade asked that more of herself instead of everyone else. "Well, better now than later, I guess." Naruto let out a sigh, as he turned to his family and Shizuan. "Shizuan, do you mind showing Kurama, Yujito, Matatabi, and the kids where the compound is? I don't think that they would enjoy this meeting too much, especially with how official and boring they can get." "Sure, I can do that, if Lady Tsunade does not mind." Tsunade merely nodded to her, letting Shizuan and Naruto's family go, but they were stopped by 2 other Chunins. "Pardon me, but council demands to see everyone. Especially 4th Hokage's grandchildren." The Chiryunin informed them. Someone must have already sent the word. Jiraiya, no doubt about it. Should have known he would do such a thing the moment he had the chance, and he had plenty of those while we moved. Naruto quickly deduced everything that had happened, as he moved to the Chunins and spoke to them. "Boys, you best remove yourselves from the path, because, unlike you, I care neither for this village, nor for your pitiful lives, and I'll be more than happy to make you move." Flaring up a little bit of his killing intent and power, Chunins immediately let them all pass. "You 3, you can kiss goodbye those jackets of yours, because from now on, for disobeying my own orders, you are Genins." Tsunade simply stated them, as she and the rest of the group headed towards the council chambers. Making demands of Hokage. We'll see about that. Konoha Council Chambers. 15 minutes later. Doors inside the chambers opened up, and the group finally began to disperse a little, as Shinobi who had taken part in recruiting Hanzo Hattori went to Shinobi's side, with Jiraiya, Kushina, and Kakashi heading there as well, while Tsunade and her personal guard was heading right towards the head table. Naruto, Tsuji, Hana, Pakura, and Mikoto simply proceeded to the center of the room, catching a bad case of hateful and furious glares from both Shinobi and civilian side, with some barely restraining themselves from outright attacking them, namely Tsumin Yuzuka and Sakura's mother, Mabuki Harano, for they had lost their children during this mission. And their murderer was right here, just a couple of meters away from them. The elders looked at Naruto with a curious eye, hardly recognizing him at all from what he used to be. They had expected, reasonably in their mind, that he would remain the same blonde easy-to-fool and use kid, but instead, to find out that one of the most dangerous Ronins in all elemental nations was actually their own former genin, one that they had banished and robbed of everything. The information from Jiraiya also indicated that Naruto was not just different, but strong, extremely strong, and powerful, capable of easily handling the entire group sent after him, killing Kiba and Yuzuka, but not others, while also being capable of defeating one of their most prized shinobi, Sasuke Uchiha. And from the looks at him, it was clear that their treasured Uchiha wasn't of any use to them, especially with the information that Naruto had destroyed his capability of having children. In other words, the boy they believed to be an utter failure and demon turned out to be possibly their most powerful enemy, but the elders and council would never admit it out loud. No, instead they would try and get use and profit out of the boy, as they've always had done. And his children, though products of him, would serve very well for Konoha. Tsunade, it is good to finally have you back with us, and Koharu already begun, but Tsunade interrupted her speaking up on her own. The next time this council starts to make any more demands towards their own Hokage, I'll personally disband it and incarcerate its members for treason. Tsunade snarled at them all, as she took her seat. Perhaps I should do this right now, considering how you sent an entire company of our shinobi on a mission, which I had not sanctioned. Care to explain your reasoning behind such action? Lady Tsunade, this council is entrusted with taking care of Konoha and its welfare. Considering that our situation has been not as positive as it should have been, we, as the loyal shinobi of Konoha, have come to a conclusion that a presence of a professional such as Hanzo Hattori would be beneficial. Although, none of us had expected that said Hanzo would turn out to be one of our shinobi. Shikaku Nara explained his actions, as he and the others have turned their eyes towards Naruto, who simply took down his face guard, turning to face the man. You've changed, Naruto. You were once a copy of your father and now a mercenary who kills for the higher bidder, without any loyal friends in a village to call his own. And I have all of you here to thank for it. Naruto didn't wait with the reply. Although, it is funny how fast you've changed your opinion of me, once a demon, now a son of a hero. Just shows how hypocritical and not trustworthy you people are. As for that mercenary bit, aren't we all in a sense mercenaries, working for the highest bidder? The only difference between me and you is that I have a much larger client base. Naruto let out a chuckle. And have absolutely no loyalties or morality. Inoichi shot back at him, with Naruto turning his attention towards the Mind Walker. One would think that after all that we had done for you, you would show your gratitude by returning back when needed most, not by trying and killing our children in cold blood. And you also dare to sully your hands with the blood of your comrades. What you have done for me. Oh, I remember very well and clearly as a day what you did with my mind, Inoichi. Naruto assured him, with Inoichi paling a little. You can thank the Kyuubi for preserving those scattered and shattered pieces for me, otherwise I would not have known just what kind of torture you had put me through with Hokage, when you first tried to take away my memories. And as for trying to kill those fools, they had showed up right at my doorsteps, demanded that I go with them, and if I didn't comply, they would use force. I had given them ample opportunities to leave, which is actually very merciful of one with my reputation, but you should have taken your time to rain down some wisdom upon those idiots, instead of Konoha's propaganda. It would have saved them, though not all of them, probably. Those that I had killed, they most certainly had it coming to them, especially the degenerated castrate. You blasted demon, another damned word about my son, and I'll personally cut off your balls and feed them to the dogs for those words. Some snarled and roared at Naruto, before turning her attention towards Hana. "And you? I always had suspected that you weren't a true Inyazuka, but to betray your own clan, to let this demon kill your own brother, and to lay under someone as weak and feeble as him. I never had thought that you were such a weak-willed bitch, Hana." "And what about you, mother?" Hana spat back at her. "Did your precious son ever tell you that he and his friends had raped and beaten me to the death, just because I was loyal to Hokage instead of you? Or how about the fact that you had turned our entire clan into a gang of rabid dogs, each ready to kill another one and just to mount every woman they see near them? And Kiba was the worst of them, as he was the first one to beat and rape me that night, and it was the Inumura clan, the real Inyazuka, that had saved and nurtured me back to health. And call my husband names again, and I'll show you that I still have fangs, you rabid toothless bitch." Tsum practically exploded with rage when she heard it all, as she leaped with her wolf out of her place and was ready to tear out the throat of her own daughter. Naruto reacted quickly to this, as his hands instantly held in them two kunai, both of which had went towards Kuromaru, being blasted out of his hands like from a railgun, having been charged up by lightning chakra. 1 second later, and the battered wolf had his skull pierced, with the contents of his brain burned out by the two kunai, who were now firmly embedded in the wall. Tsum reacted to the sudden death of her partner with a shock, but it was something that she shouldn't have done, as this had given ample time to Hana to close up the distance with her. She may be lost interest in her profession as a shinobi, but she still received a proper training from Hokkaiba and Inumura clan, so she was more than strong enough to deal with Tsum. Tsum always fought like a wild beast without much of a thought, but Hana was a different kind of an animal. Where Tsum was reckless, Hana was cautious, and where Tsum fought to prove something, Hana fought to kill. Both of them were predators, but only one was ready to wait and strike to kill and for the kill. Hana had studied Iryo ninjutsu well, even had taken a couple of lessons from Naruto, who was one of the best medics she had met in her life. She was most interested in his own personal technique, Hand of Corruption, which was something extremely terrifying and especially deadly, if applied in the right place. And Hana was already channeling her chakra in her hand, to use this technique, or at least the weaker version of it, ready to strike at Tsum. Until a flash of black which was Tsuji Okada appeared right in front of her, protectively putting himself between Tsum and Hana, with his hand on katana's handle, with its blade already pointed at Tsum's throat. Wild matriarch of Inyazuka clan immediately stopped in her tracks, just as the blade cut a little bit of her throat, letting the blood drip down at the floor. But it wasn't the blade that stopped her, but the eyes of the former Shinzengumi captain, which told her, "Make another step towards her and I will end your life right here." Tsum was fearless, mostly, but even she was afraid of certain things and certain people. One of the reasons why she had made Inyazuka as they are now precisely so that she would not be opposed by someone who could scare her. And Tsuji Okada was someone who terrified her. Backing down, she grabbed with one of her hands the dead corpse of her partner, sparing a single glare at Naruto, before returning to her place. The elders, having decided that enough of the distractions had taken place here, decided to speak up, with Koharu starting up. "Naruto Uzumaki, you have been exiled from this village due to the charges and crimes, all of which we had found you guilty of. Although your supposed death and our resolution to later absolve you of those crimes has rendered you innocent, your actions make you not a desired friend and comrade to Konoha, but an extremely dangerous threat to us and our safety." Koharu stated with status and strength, with Naruto simply looking at her with a bored expression. "The way you have attacked your fellow shinobi, your own comrades, murdered 2 of them in cold blood, maimed and crippled a member of esteemed and elite clan of Uchiha, not to mention your collaboration with our enemies on multiple occasions, and the fact that you had attacked and killed our shinobi before. Even though we have a need of you, there is very little that stops us from putting you in the shackles, unless you decide to comply with us. This council and Konoha are forgiving and are prepared to overlook most of your past transgressions, if certain requirements are met by you." Homura continued on for Koharu, while Tsunade and Naruto actually paid attention to it. "You are to relinquish all of your knowledge on all of Uzumaki sealing techniques, elemental jutsu, ninjutsu, and so forth. Any and all of your knowledge about Hiraishin no Jutsu is to be passed to this council, for we are best suited to use it. You will share with us all the vital strategic information about all elemental nations and hidden villages you have been, including their rulers, shinobi, numbers, jinchuriki, and more. Your children, a daughter and a son, will be officially admitted into the Uzumaki clan under Kushina Uzumaki, as will you be, but your concubines will be considered, and if this council determines so, they will be given to other clans for better purposes. You will be admitted into Konoha's Shinobi Corp once again, with a special Jonin rank and on probation for a year, under direct orders of Kakashi Hatake. You will provide Menma Uzumaki with all of your techniques, knowledge, jutsu, and information that you possess. You will also train a specified number of shinobi in Fuinjutsu, along with teaching our Jonins several other techniques, but not before a special seal is placed upon you. Furthermore, you can take all of those demands and requirements of yours, and shove them right up your old, sand-filled, wrinkled greedy asses, because the day I decide to go back being Konoha's shinobi, will be the day when hell freezes over. Naruto told them, with strength and power, not even wavering, as the civilian and shinobi council roared at him, before he decided to make sure that they knew that he was not kidding. In a single second, the entire room was filled to the brim by one of the most potent and shocking amount of killing intent, all coming out of a single person. And that person was Naruto, instantly shutting up all of the civilians, shinobi, and elders, while Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kushina and some other veteran shinobi who were among the elites of Konoha, felt a shiver running down their spines. And that was something of an achievement, to make the most experienced, war-hardened and strongest shinobi of Konoha feel fear, from a mere presence of a person right here. And Naruto did just that, by mere unleashing of his ki, shutting everyone up and giving him enough room to say his piece. Now that you greedy lot has shut up, it's time that you listen to what I have to say to you. Naruto simply stated to them. Like Inoichi and Shikaka have noted out earlier, I am a mercenary, and a good one, extremely good one in my department. So good in fact, that daimyo of Hinokuni has decided to hire me as her personal aide to Konoha, acting as an independent private military specialist under her direct jurisdiction. And before any of you start to get any ideas, let me inform you all, that I answer to only one person, and that is your daimyo, and, as he personal military aide to you, I am under political, military, and judicial immunity from you. Naruto pointed at all of them here, before stopping his gaze at Konoha's elders. In other words, you old fossils have neither power nor any influence over me. Lady Hokage, as the official daimyo's sworn vassal and direct official, is the only one here who can give me orders, but only if they correlate with my primary objectives and missions given to me by my employer. And what those missions may be, Naruto Uzumaki? Danzo asked of Naruto, who simply chuckled and spoke up. That is something that is only for me, my companions and your Hokage to know. And since I pride myself as a professional, sharing information about my goals and missions is out of question. Now, knowing that you are not only stubborn, but also just aggressive, narrow-minded and arrogant when it comes to matters of your wretched Konoha and all your corrupt clans, let me give you a single warning, if anybody, and I mean anybody, decides to try and threat or hurt me, my friends here and, especially, my family in any way, then you can kiss your life goodbye the next second. Daimyo has given me full carte blanche for exacting any suitable punishment upon anyone who decides to cross my path, and I intend to use it to the fullest if the push comes to shove. Naruto informed them, seeing how everyone was already glaring up at him and his companions, with Naruto turning his eye towards Sarutobi clan, who were already eyeing up to kill Mikoto right there. And if any of you have any doubts left, Lady Daimyo will be more than happy to disperse them, when she arrives within a fortnight to Konoha for an inspection and investigation of a certain crime committed by Konoha's shinobi. What? What are you talking about? Why would our daimyo have such thoughts? Koharu was already starting to sweat bullets, with Tsunade taking charge here. Because Naruto, as her personal specialist, has had the insight to inform her about the fact that Sarutobi clan here had attacked and killed an heir to the throne of Hinokuni, along with his wife and abducted their daughter, Mikoto Matsudera, also known as Mikoto Sarutobi. Everyone looked shocked at this information, as they turned to the shaking members of Sarutobi clan, with Asuma Sarutobi in the head of them, as Tsunade continued. I have heard tales of Sarutobi clan's integrity and loyalty to Konoha and their own, but to kill your own blood like that, with her husband, a future daimyo of Land of Fire, to abduct their daughter and make her into a shinobi just likes this. When Lady Daimyo gets here, you can be assured, that your entire clan will pay for doing what you had done, among other things. The only thing I am sorry for is that third Hokage isn't here anymore, to see how he had destroyed his own clan with his hypocrisy. Clan Sarutobi makes a place for everyone and every member of it has his or her duty, and Hikari Sarutobi refused to do her duty to the clan and abandoned it. Asuma defended the position of his clan and his own, as he glared at Mikoto. Anyone who does so is a traitor to our clan and is to be punished, and Mikoto here is just as guilty as her own wretched treasonous mother, having strayed away from Konoha. I should have just killed you there with your own mother, and as for that heir to the throne. No one dares to stand in the way of Konoha and Sarutobi clan, not even daimyo. Asuma simply stated with seething anger, before Mikoto took word. My parents did nothing wrong, and you slaughtered them just because of your own stupid pride. And in case you forgot, that son of a bitch right there, she pointed at Sasuke Uchiha, who was about to jump in and kill her, just to silence Mikoto. Has killed my teammates and left me to die with a wound in the gut. Had it not been for Naruto-sensei here, I would be dead, and if I had returned, I would also be dead, either by your hand, by that Uchiha bastard's hand or because I accused to treason by this council, who oh so favor him. You damned bitch, you should have stayed dead and... Sasuke was already prepared to rise up, when finally, Hayashi Hyuga spoke up. Mikoto-san, according to what you are saying, does that mean Sasuke Uchiha has not only tried to kill you, but also attacked and killed your other teammates, including Yoshikiri Hyuga? Mikoto simply nodded to him, with Hayashi inhaling sharply before turning to Tsunade Senju. Lady Hokage, as you know, such actions are a capital treason to Konoha. And as the head of Clan Hyuga, I demand that Sasuke Uchiha is to be put to the sword for the crimes of betrayal, slaughter of his own genins and fabrication of crimes. You can't just do such a thing. Kushina suddenly rose up to Sasuke's defense, with Naruto and Tsunade turning their attention to him. He is the last of Uchiha line and a son to my old friend Mikoto Uchiha. I know that this is one huge mistake and that he would never. Kushina Uzumaki, sit down. Tsunade commanded to her, with Kushina doing so, though reluctantly. Your personal feelings towards this Uchiha are well known, as well as your motherly attitude towards him, but that does not change the fact that Sasuke Uchiha has betrayed Konoha and will face justice for it. Sasuke turned pale at this one, as he looked around, as if seeking an exit, as Tsunade continued. Umbu, seize Sasuke Uchiha and escort him to prison, where he will spend time before a trial will take place, where his fate will be decided. The Umbu appeared and were ready to apprehend Sasuke, but he managed to shake them off himself, before he roared inhumanly, having now lost everything he had and whom he was, with only his Uchiha pride remaining. No. No one commands an Uchiha, not even you, Senju bitch. And you. Sasuke pointed at Naruto, as his only remaining hand began to channel up with lightning. It's all because of you, you damned dope. Die. Sasuke, mad from desperation and humiliation, jumped out of the table and was on his way to kill Naruto, caring not for the consequences, wishing only to destroy him here and now. Unfortunately for the last Uchiha, as he loves parade himself around, he did not learn his lessons well enough. He didn't take to the account that Naruto was on a far greater level than he is, leagues above him, holding more than enough power to decimate Sasuke Uchiha in more ways than one. Naruto and his companions could clearly see how he was coming for Naruto's head, and Naruto already thought about a dozen ways to stop him, but he wanted to see Sasuke suffer, to be broken and destroyed, before Naruto would grant him death. However, his more pragmatic and practical side told him that he was foolish as to only punish him via a castration. No, he was a practical mercenary, and practical mercenaries like that do not let their own personal feelings take a hold of them in any way. Uzumaki understood that for as long as Sasuke remained alive, he would not only be a nuisance, but also a possible threat to his family, and he was going to let him roam free until he decided to break him. Sometimes Naruto felt himself like an idiot, letting his petty feelings and foolishness run amok. No, he had learned the hard way, that enemies like Sasuke aren't meant to be broken and made begging for life. This type of foes, the prideful, arrogant and unrelenting type, needs only one thing, and that is something that Naruto was going to give to him. Calmly opening up his palm, Naruto began to channel into his palm lightning energy, containing in on it, the sound of thousands chirping birds began to come from Naruto. He had remembered with vivid details Chidori technique. After all, it is very hard to forget the jutsu that had nearly killed you, and Naruto had remembered it well as the signs of Reikari, having remembered them from the times of his first mission outside of Konoha. Deducing that Reikari was a refined, more controlled and more dangerous variant of the Chidori, Naruto decided to add it to his list of jutsu, before coming up with an even better, more versatile and deadlier technique. His left hand did the signs, while his right hand already had the lightning energy channeled up, with the lightnings instead of white-blue becoming purple from the influx of power. Kakashi had a wide eye at seeing his former student managing to master his own technique and upgrading it, perfecting it into a new one. Sasuke didn't even see it, as his only remaining eye was already seeing bloody red, as he closed the distance between him and Naruto, crushing the floor underneath his feet. As for Naruto's lightning jutsu, it was far more contained and ready to go, as he disappeared in a flash, right before everyone's eyes, until a piercing sound was heard throughout the chambers. Right in the center of the chambers, Sasuke Uchiha, the prodigy of the Uchiha clan, the elite and so forth, stood with Naruto Uzumaki, whose right hand had pierced his chest, destroying his ribs and the heart, with purple lightning coming out from behind Sasuke's back. For a whole second, life still remained in Sasuke's body, until Naruto pulled out his hand and let him fall down, the expression of horror, shock, and terror ever present upon his now dead face. A symbolic death, being killed by the man whom he had tried to kill, and by the technique he used for the killing. Everyone in the chambers was silent and shocked at this display, before Naruto spoke up again. Consider this an example for you all, try and cross me, and you are dead. Now, if that is all, me and my friends will be on our way. Without even hearing the reply, Naruto and his group left the chambers, having made his point absolutely clear. Chapter 10. Senju Compound. Several hours after the council meeting. The compound and grounds of Senju clan are considered to be near hallowed and divine, as they've served to house the entirety of the founding clan of Konoha. It was also the home of 2 first Hokage, and a current residence of the current 5th Hokage. People passing by would often gawk and stare at the place, or come inside to either pay respects or simply to say hello. At least, that's how it used to be until Naruto Uzumaki and his family, along with his friends, have moved in and made the compound their new home, until the contract had expired. Now, most people would rather avoid this place altogether, as they didn't know when they would invoke the wrath of now-returned Fox Demon. Just a few mere hours have passed, yet it was enough to send shockwaves and ripple effects throughout the entire hidden village of Leaf. Not that it was without the reason, though, as the news of death of the entirety clan Uchiha and its last official member were more than sufficient enough to send Konoha into a state of shock. However, death of Sasuke Uchiha wasn't the only thing that had everyone in the village on edge and shaking. The revelation of who it was that had dealt the lethal blows to Kiba Inuzuka, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha, was also another reason why there is a sudden decrease in people wanting to look and stand near the compounds. After all, the civilian council has spared absolutely nothing in ensuring that the populace knew that Naruto Uzumaki was back, and that he was far more dangerous than before, as well as warning about his demonic mistresses and spawns from their wombs, sired by Demon Fox. If there was ever one thing that Naruto found completely amusing, it would have to be the fact at how effective the civilian propaganda machine was. It must have took quite some effort to keep the populace believing that a simple, orphaned poor boy was responsible for the deaths of thousands. Either the methods were that good, or the general populace was that stupid. Either way, Naruto knew that he and his family would not be receiving any love letters and bowing people from the locals, and they could live with that. The problem, however, lay not with him or his wives, but with his children, Yasaka and Masamune. They may be largely kept close to the family and not liked to venture far away from it, but they still needed to have some company of the kids of their own age. Back in Wave, they could always easily find themselves other children to play with, and would be welcomed, as people of Wave were far kinder and gentler than Konoha. But here, Kurama and Yujito trusted practically no one in the village, especially the civilians and major clans, considering that their children can be made into an easy prey or a target. Naruto already had a full list of people within and outside of Konoha who would definitely take a chance at capturing them, so he needed to be prepared. It also didn't help out the fact that entire village now knew that Naruto Uzumaki was back, and he had family. For all its supposed secrecy and status of the hidden village, Konoha was absolutely terrible in keeping the secrets within its walls and borders. Back when he only started out as Hanzo Hattori, Naruto was able to pick up on rumors and news from Konoha, detailing how things were in his former home. Not only was that atrocious of a hidden village, to be so irresponsible in spread of information, but what made this situation even worse was the fact that Naruto knew that there were spies within the village from other countries. He himself had completed several of survey missions near Konoha, without its knowledge of course, so he was well aware of the fact that every other hidden village had at least half a dozen spies each. And Kiri had 11 spies right in here, all of which were brought here, thanks to Naruto's information and training in stealth, urban recon, and information gathering. The bottom line was that before the day was over, all of elemental nations were going to be aware of Naruto's return, as well as his status as a married man and father. And now, as Naruto was standing in his new courtyard, thinking over the security measures for the house, he was also trying to figure out from where to start his work within the village itself. He already had a couple of the general ideas on where to start, but he figured that first it would be best to either survey the situation within the place better, along with stopping the Akatsuki from striking at Gaara and Tsunagakure. Tsunade was already putting together a plan and strike team for the latter, though he would have preferred to handle this on his own or with Pakura and Tsuji. Unfortunately, the council still had some sway over the such things, so Naruto had to endure this inconvenience, while focusing up on the upcoming dismantling of Sarutobi clan, as well as arrival of Daimyo in a few days. Turns out, Lady Daimyo, after receiving the message from Naruto regarding her niece, decided to come to Konoha a bit earlier than anticipated, and to deal with Sarutobi as quickly as possible. Needless to say, Clan Sarutobi has quickly lost all of its previous prestige and friends, as none wanted to be anywhere near them when Daimyo came to Konoha to destroy it. Once one of the most respected and admired clans of Konoha, who had been one of the first to join it, now it became a pariah, left alone and without anyone to call upon. Their fate was all but sealed, as Naruto had figured, and all he needed to do now was to wait and see how it all comes to fruition. As he stood in thoughts, Naruto had suddenly felt how a detection barrier around the mansion was disturbed. He and Kurama had fortified the estate to its maximum capacity within an hour and a half with all kinds of fuinjutsu. Naruto was expecting that someone would try their luck breaking in, but he didn't think someone would be either bold or stupid enough to do it on the first day. Regardless, whoever it was, he has sealed his fate, as Naruto teleported from his spot, and reappeared right behind the intruder. He must have leaped from the ground and landed on the roof of the estate, hoping to sneak up and strike at Naruto or his family. Whichever plan he had hoped to use, it was no longer of any use to him, as Naruto quietly crept onto him, before kicking him off the roof and onto the ground. Leaping off the roof and landing right on top of the intruder, Naruto had two kunai ready and pointing at his throat, before he took a closer look at the Konoha shinobi that intruded on his grounds. Blinking twice, the former blonde almost didn't recognize someone he had used to know. "Kano Amaru?" Naruto asked now grown-up former loud-mouthed grandson of the third Hokage, who now grinned at Naruto, despite their position. "Is this some kind of a joke for you, because I fail to see why would you grin like that after this charade? Oh come on, boss. Don't you remember that I and my gang used to do this all the time with you? And you've always busted us." Kano Amaru reminded to Naruto, who got up and put away his kunai, letting the younger shinobi to get up on his feet. "Those were some good times, right? For some, me. I wouldn't call them really good for me, or any time in this village." Naruto simply remarked to Kano Amaru, with continued smiling to him. "Now, what do you want, Kano Amaru? What, can't I just pay a visit to my surrogate big brother? The guy that had really taught me what it means to be a shinobi?" Kano Amaru asked Naruto like it was something completely obvious. "It's been near 8 years now, and I've heard that you've made yourself a really big name now. Just like I knew you would, boss. I myself haven't been sitting idle, and have already made into special jonin, so I guess I'm now almost as cool as." "Kano Amaru, cut the chit-chat, and get to the point already." Naruto interrupted him, with Kano Amaru staring at his former idol with a questioning look. "As shinobi of Konoha, you must have long been aware about Hanzo Hattori and his relations with this village's shinobi, which means, after you found out that I was that guy, you wouldn't be all that eager to see me. If you weren't, then the only reason you would want to come right here would have to be to ask me something on the behalf of your clan, who must have sent you here in the first place, knowing of our relations in the past. Am I correct? Naruto could clearly see how Konohamaru's expression changed from a goofball into one of a focused and concentrated shinobi, before he spoke up. Nothing really escapes you now, huh? He said with a bit of bitter. I suppose I shouldn't be all that surprised, considering your reputation and what you have done for other nations. There were a couple of times that I had helped Konoha, but they were few and in between. Naruto remarked, with Konohamaru not even batting an eye. So let me guess, you are here to convince me to stop Daimyo from effectively destroying Clan Sarutobi for their crime of killing Mikato's father and mother, am I correct? Konohamaru had stiffened up at hearing this, before continuing. Naruto, you've got to understand that not all of Clan Sarutobi is responsible for what had happened to previous daimyo's son. Yeah, I know that my clan has done a bad thing, but that is a very huge understatement on your part, Konohamaru. Naruto noted out to him. Your clan had openly broken the most sacred of laws in Land of Fire, interfered with the royal succession order, abducted a princess, killed the crown heir to the throne of Land of Fire, and made Mikoto Matsudera into what accounts a war slave. And from what I understand, practically everyone in the Sarutobi clan, including you, knew about Mikoto's real origin, yet you've done nothing. From where I see it, Konohamaru, your clan is doomed, no matter what I say to her. There has to be some kind of way to prevent her from dismantling my clan, Naruto. Look, if this is a matter of money, then my clan is prepared to pay you up any amount you want. Just name the price and we'll give it to you. Konohamaru had hoped that it would placate Naruto, but he was mistaken. You really think that money is going to change my mind on this subject? Naruto asked of him with a narrowed-eye look. Konohamaru, in case you haven't noticed, money isn't something I have an immediate need in. As a Ronin, I've already managed to collect enough of a fortune to allow my grandchildren to have a life of luxury and peace. Add to that what I have as an Uzumaki clan head and what I have been granted from my participation in Mizu's civil war, I can literally buy an island of Uzu, rebuild it and make it into a populated place once again, and I'll still have enough to buy enough orange color paint to decorate the entire Hokage mountain 5 times over. And before you ask, I've already counted it, twice. Ugh, fine, have it your way, Naruto. Konohamaru seemed to be losing his cool, with Naruto not batting an eye. Just tell me, what my clan has to give to you to save us. You want land? Take all the land outside and inside our village. Our jutsu, scrolls, and all the knowledge gathered? We'll deliver them to you within an hour. Our women? You can have all of them, all of our virgins, daughters, wives, all of them. If that's what it takes to save our clan, we'll do anything just to make sure that Clan Sarutobi isn't destroyed. Despite the clear despair and honesty, Naruto was actually finding Konohamaru's begging to be a little bit amusing. Konohamaru, have you considered the possibility that I want your clan gone? Naruto could clearly see the morbid surprise on his face. Apparently, Asuma and the others have failed to fill you in on the details. It's not exactly my place to tell you about it, nor explain my motives and reasoning, so I'll simply cut to the chase. Your clan and I have a very eventful history together, brim-filled with violence and near-death experiences for me, especially from Asuma Sarutobi. Now, I understand that there are some among Sarutobi clan that are innocent, and I'll see to it that only those that have committed crimes were punished, but as for the general clan, there's nothing I will do for it. Damn it, Naruto, what the hell is wrong with you? You've never been this selfish or cruel to anyone, never. Konohamaru was practically furious with his former idol turning on his clan just like that. Even with the people that had berated and beat you, you would always just laugh it off like a goof and do the right thing. Why the hell can't you do the same damn thing with my clan? What in the fucking hell had changed that you can't just let it all go and give my clan what it wants? Naruto narrowed his eyes on Konohamaru, before speaking in cold and steel voice. And what would that be? Let your clan have Mikoto silenced? Or me obeying like an idiot every order? Naruto could see that Konohamaru wasn't against that. You know, Konohamaru, ever since I've busted you, all you've been doing is just ask me about saving your clan, like you don't even care why Daimyo was going to end it. And from what Mikoto had already told me, you were acting towards her just like the rest of the clan, if not even worse, considering that she had told me that you were chosen as her future husband. From her tales to me and Suji, about the same she became a genin, you've started make rather unfitting moves on her. And what is so bad about this? It is my clan's internal affair, and neither you, nor Daimyo can affect it. Kano Amuro was now finally dropping his facade, as Naruto could clearly now see the true colors of a young Sarutobi. This decision was made by my Gramps, our third Hokage, and it is customary in my clan for future husband and wife to practice their duties to each other, even if one party disagrees. Mikoto should have been glad that she was allowed this honor, considering what her mother did. First, this was never an internal affair of your clan, not after how you've betrayed Daimyo. Naruto reminded to Kano Amuro, who simply stiffened up. Second, the Daimyo can and will affect whatever decision made in clan, if it concerns her and her safety. And third, I've got absolutely no intention of changing the mind of Daimyo on this matter, Kano Amuro. The only thing I can honestly recommend you do is simply give away those that were directly involved in deaths of Daimyo's son, his wife, and kidnapping of Mikoto. That way, Daimyo will at least grant life of exiles to the rest of your clan, which is better than the alternatives. My clan will never be rendered to some roaming exiles in search of place to live. This is our home, our village, the village that Hiruzen Sarutobi has built, and we will not allow some big-headed feudal lord order us around. Kano Amuro was seething with anger and malice, with Naruto readying himself in case things took a turn for the worst. Now, Naruto, give me back Mikoto and stop Daimyo from destroying my clan, or I can assure you, that the day Daimyo comes into this village will be the day you'll have to bury those two brats of yours. Throughout the entire conversation, Naruto has been holding his rising anger and fury in check, even though it was tough for him to do so with Kano Amuro around him. Just looking at him was making Naruto have an unyielding desire to strangle the boy. There was once time when he had considered Kano Amuro a good boy and a nice lad, but that was long before he had saved Mikoto from death and learned from her the true colors of Clan Sarutobi. The treatment she had to endure from them, not to mention being always humiliated, pushed around like a piece of garbage, constant berating and beatings for no good reason but because Sarutobi had considered her to be unworthy of their name. While all of this was more than enough for Naruto to forget his respect and admiration for the third Hokage, whatever he had left for him, it didn't immediately deter him from considering Kano Amuro as a good boy and a friend. That is, until Mikoto had revealed to him and everyone else that Kano Amuro that Naruto had known wasn't the entire person. Clan Sarutobi, for the sake of their public image and reputation, has always put a nice and kind front for everyone to see and admire, so that their far more hideous and malicious true inner self was well hidden from public. And Kano Amuro was no different, and even as a child, berating and beating Mikoto for him was nothing out of the ordinary. When it became known that Mikoto was to be his bride, however, that is when for Mikoto Clan Sarutobi had become a practically living hell. Women in some of the clans, mostly in the more orthodox and conservative ones, were often trained to please their future husbands in various ways. Clan Sarutobi was no different in that regard with its women, as females from lower branches were subjected to such treatment from when they were capable enough of this, and members of shinobi clans often grew up and matured very early on in their lives. What Mikoto had described was simply horrendous and atrocious, and finding out that Kano Amuro had taken part in this was. It was enough for Naruto completely forget and put behind him any positive feelings he had for Kano Amuro. The only thing that had stopped Naruto from killing him right now was just that little ghost of a former blonde idiot, ever present in him, reminding him that this was once one of his only friends. However, the moment Kano Amuro had made this threat towards Yasaka and Masamune, that ghost was silenced by the ever-present essence of an Uzumaki father. Uzumaki had always treasured their family and cherished it above all. It was the most important thing for them, and the greatest honor every Uzumaki had considered to hold was being able to start one of his own, with loving partner or partners at his side and children of their own. To threaten the safety of his family and in such an open manner. This was something that Naruto would never let go of. You've crossed the line here, Sarutobi. Naruto's voice was now dangerously low, with Kano Amuro flinching at it. Out of simple mercy, I'll let you leave this place alive, but if you or your clan takes even a literal step towards my family or Mikoto, then I won't wait for Daimyo to come here. I'll make sure that Clan Sarutobi is not just destroyed, but utterly annihilated, eradicated, and rendered non-existent. My clan has survived worse threats and greater enemies than you, Naruto, so what makes you think that this will even scare us? Konohamaru arrogantly asked of him. My clan was the one that had put the current daimyo's dynasty in power centuries ago, and we'll make sure as hell to remind that woman of our role in their rise to power. And once she realizes it, there'll be nothing stopping us from taking care of Mikoto and you along the line. Except the fact that daimyo won't even give a damn about this. You think that it matters anymore, that Clan Sarutobi has helped Matsudaira clan in becoming rulers of this land centuries ago? Naruto seriously asked of Konohamaru. You've long been repaid for your services, and now it is just that, history. Now, Konohamaru, get the fuck out of here, or I'll start my cleanup or Sarutobi from you. Zanjutsu materialized in Naruto's hand, as he gripped the handle of his sword, waiting for his opponent to make his move. Konohamaru had believed himself to be an extremely powerful and potent shinobi, one of the best in this village and an obvious pick as the future Hokage, or at least he believed himself. He was molded into being the perfect inheritor of Sarutobi clan's tradition and name, and this alone was more than enough to make him one of the best shinobi of this village. And while Naruto maybe made himself the name of one of the most fearsome and terrifying Ronin of this time and era, he was confident enough that he could take him. Or at least that would have happened, had the elders of his clan not instructed him to not engage Naruto directly and merely try to stop him diplomatically. This was something that Konohamaru couldn't understand, as in the past while his grandfather was around, Clan Sarutobi was completely undisputed in their power and influence. Not only that, there were simply no one who could even say a word against them, but now. For his clan to become fearful of what amounted to a single Ronin, even with the Kyuubi trapped inside of him, this was something completely appalling for him. But, traditions dictated that he followed the commands. Naruto could see that Konohamaru had dropped from his battle stance, while he still gripped Zanjutsu in his hand, waiting for the next move from young Sarutobi clan member. Konohamaru walked to the grass and towards the wall surrounding the estate, before he stopped and spoke up again. This isn't over, Naruto. My clan will have its due. And with this said, Konohamaru leapt out of the estate's grounds, leaving Naruto alone, as he returned his weapon back to where it came from. I'm counting on it, Konohamaru. Naruto simply said out loud, before he had noticed that he was not alone. I take it you heard everything he had to say to me, Kura-chan. Naruto turned to face his first wife, as she walked to him from the house. Not all, but I've heard enough. She simply stated to him. I'm actually quite surprised that you've let him go, Naruto. Had it been up to me, I would have long wiped the floor with him and his clan. I remember that he used to be your friend and all, but that was before Mikoto, so why you've been so neutral to him, so to speak. Truth be told, I'm kinda surprised that I was talkative towards him at all. Naruto honestly admitted to his wife. I personally suspect that it has something to do with who I used to be, or rather, what I was rendered to be in the past. Didn't think that any traces of that blonde idiot had remained in me, but he was always inside of you, even if you not realize or ignore it, Naruto. Kurama said to him, with Naruto looking at her. Because no matter what this place and its people have done to you, they were never able to destroy the very core of your personality, the unbreakable will and determination to lead a good life. Naruto they had molded still had those qualities, and you practically embody them in your own way. Kurama smiled to him, while Naruto let out a small chuckle. I guess there's no point about arguing on this subject with you, is there? I've spent most of my life living inside of you, my love, so I know you better than anyone. Kurama stepped closer to Naruto, leaning to him and embracing him, with Naruto hugging and holding his wife close to him. I know your heart, Naruto, and I know what you think about. We both had talked about it, and Yujito with Mata-chan have agreed to it, and there is no way that we will leave you in this nest of vipers. As for children, we'll be sure to take care of them, and explain to them what is going on around here. Plus it's not like they'll be all alone here, especially with Tsunade, Karen, Gurren, and Mikoto near them, not to mention their new aunties Kurane and Anko. Although the latter seems to be quite interested in becoming a closer relative to them. Kurama playfully purred to Naruto. I've noticed that too. Naruto sighed at this. We'll discuss this with Yujito and Madatabi later. There's not much to discuss, to be honest with you. Madatabi already likes her, and Yujito trusts my word on her, as she had asked me about Anko. And as for me, I myself have nothing wrong with Anko joining in our family. She is loyal, caring, has a bit of spunk and gall in her, but it's something I appreciate in people, plus she's already smitten by you and cares for kids. Kurama reasoned with Naruto. That, and I'm pretty sure that she won't take a no for answer. Suddenly, came a voice in Naruto's head, belonging to his father. Plus, knowing her kind of women, I wouldn't be too surprised that she had accidentally found her way in your bedroom, stark naked and tied your hands and legs to bedposts. That, at least, has happened to me, once. Please tell me that this isn't how Kushina had gotten you, Dad. Naruto had mentally stated to him, while Kurama chuckled at this one. No, that was before your mother, at least before we became an official item. Back then, I was dating another kunoichi from my team. What a girl she was, Aika. Never a boring day with her, nor would she ever allow anyone to wallow in sadness for too long. A constant bundle of energy, joy, and happiness. Minato recalled with fondness. Your mother may have been the one to marry me, but I can with full honesty say that she never had my heart like Aika did. If only the war hadn't started, we would have been married, but then the war had kicked off and she was amongst the first casualties. Wish I was contained within that girl myself. Kushina absolutely hated that woman, but she reminded me of Mito from her younger days. Shame she had been killed, but that is war and. Oh, are you bloody kidding me? Kurama growled out both mentally and in the real world, with Naruto looking at his wife with a questioning look. Just had to ruin our moment, and I've been planning some quality time for us. We have guests at our front gates. Care to guess who, darling? Kushina and Menma. Naruto asked out loud, with Kurama nodding to him. And they've brought along the frog idiot. Kurama said out loud. From what I can get from Menma's mind, they are here to try and establish relations between us and them, along with trying to convince you in why Menma is so important to you. I don't know about you Naruto, but I don't want to hear anything that those two have to say. Then we are both in the agreement on that one, Kurama. I'll have my shadow clone take care of them in a jiffy. Naruto was about to make his favorite sign, until Minato spoke up again. Naruto, I know that you want nothing to do with Jiraiya Kushina and Menma, and I understand that completely. However, I would like for those three to come in. Now that was something that had surprised both Naruto and Kurama, as they knew that Minato didn't hold at this point any love for those three. It has been quite a long time, and I have quite a long list of things to tell them three. That is, if you'll let me, son. You want to? I see. Naruto and Kurama understood what Minato meant and wanted. If that is what you want, Dad. Kurama, are you coming? Well, this will be quite a treat for my eyes and ears. Kurama chuckled in a little evil way. Let's go and greet our guests. With that being said, husband and wife moved through the house and to the front gates. Just as Kurama has said, right there they found Kushina and Menma, accompanied by Jiraiya, already moving inside the vicinity of detection barrier. The trio was slightly surprised to see Kurama and Naruto greeting them, but that didn't deter them, as Kushina spoke up. Naruto, son, I had hoped that we could talk to you, in private. Kushina spoke up without even greetings, while Kurama scowled a little at the woman. I understand that we had started out on the wrong foot and that if we just sit and talked, you would come to understand that we don't mean you any harm, and only want to reconnect with you. I would sooner believe that I'm a direct descendant of Sage of the Six Paths than in this drivel. Naruto simply stated, turning his eyes to scowling Menma. And what exactly are these two for? Watch what you are saying, loser. I am this close to making you pay for what you have done to my friends and stealing away Karen-chan. Menma shouted at him, with Naruto simply blinking up at him. You already have these whores, so why does Karen only now speak about you all the time? Lay off of her, would you, and leave her to the real Uzumaki man. Listen up, Uzumaki man, you speak up like that about my wives and family, I'll make sure that every woman loses interest in you, as there won't be a single remotely human-looking spot on your face and body. Naruto warned Menma, with Kushina glaring at the both of them. Seriously, why the hell have you brought him here, especially after our initial introduction? Naruto, you can deny this as much as you want, but Menma is your brother, so it is imperative that you reconnect and you help us train him. You don't know it yet, but there is a prophecy that toads have. Jiraiya began speaking, before Naruto had interrupted him. Ah yes, the prophecy about the promised child, the one to bring peace and prosperity to the land, ending all of war and bloodshed upon it. Is this the one you are referring to, Jiraiya? Jiraiya and Kushina were utterly surprised to hear about it from Naruto. How did you learn of it? Toad Sage asked of him. You really think that it's a secret revealed only to toads? Over a dozen of summons also has their own great sages, and each of them is familiar with this prophecy, and half of those sages also have prophetic abilities. Naruto informed Jiraiya and Kushina. The only difference is that those sages take these prophecies with grain of salt and act with caution about them, as they understand that the time is constantly shifts and alters, thanks to actions of people inhabiting the world. According to the great sage of my summon, most prophecies constantly either become invalid or alter completely, and it is foolish to try to live by this predetermined scenario. Best thing to do is live by your own choices and with your own actions. You've learned that from another great sage? Just who is your summon and how did you obtain it? And just who the hell is he to insult the great Toad Sage? Jiraiya demanded to know from Naruto. It must be something really lame and boring, like a ferret or a sparrow, if you could afford to sign a contract with them. Jiraiya, I know that you've got little respect for other summons and their sages, but if you insult tigers like that one more time, then I'll visit MT Miyaboka with them to have words with your great sage. Jiraiya paled up at hearing Naruto say that he had a tiger summon, while Kushina was agape at the news. And let me assure, Torahime, the great tiger sage and mother of tigers, doesn't take well the insults to her kind and their sages. Naruto, why you have my father's summoning contract? Kushina asked of Naruto, who simply nodded to her. Where did you get it? I was to Uzu and I've found only ruins there. You didn't look well enough, then. Naruto simply stated to her. Now, as much as I may like to stay here with you and drivel about this pointless stuff, there is actually someone who would like to have a word with you three. So if you want to come in, then follow me. Without even hearing their response, Naruto and Kurama went into the house, being closely followed by their uninvited guests. Once they had reached the isolated guest room, used for private discussions, Naruto and Kurama shut the doors and put seals in place. Without even waiting, Naruto summoned up a shadow clone, before biting his finger and placing a little bloodstain in clone's head, who nodded to him. Kurama was already aware of what Naruto was doing and what kind of a ritual he was making, as this was not the first time she had to witness it being made. As for his guests, Menma, who was seething with malice, was the first one to lose his patience. Okay loser, where is this someone that had wanted to meet with us? And what is all this business with your clone here you are doing? Menma demanded to know from Naruto, with Jiraiya chiming in. Naruto, we have no time whatever charade you've thought up and want to play on us. I don't know what your tigers have told you, but I can assure and prove to you, that the child of the prophecy is true and that Menma is one. Here, I'll even summon Ma and Pa to prove it all to you. And just like that Jiraiya summoned up the two small toads in cloaks, with them standing near Jiraiya. Alright, Jiraiya, why have you summoned us up here? Pa asked of him, before noticing Naruto and Kurama. Ah, Naruto boy. Ma and I are so glad to see you that you've finally come to your senses. Better late than never, if you ask me. Now we can restore your summoning contract with us and everything will be just right and. Ma was already running her mouth, until Kurama silenced her up with a glare. Oi, who are you to be giving me such scary looks? I'm Naruto's wife, Kurama, and if you are all done with interruptions, let my husband finish up the jutsu. Kurama practically barked at them all, with Naruto focusing and doing a quick series of hand signs, before he spoke up. Edo Tensei. Naruto clapped his hands and the summoned up clone immediately began to get covered up in ashes and dust particles. In a matter of few seconds, the dust and ashes have settled on his skin and body, before integrating itself on him. Once the process was complete, instead of Naruto's clone, there stood someone they could not believe to see. He looked almost like a complete copy of Menma and Naruto, with his spiky blonde hair, dressed in Hokage Haori and green vest underneath him. Though he looked a bit pale, there was no denying that this truly was Minato Namikaze, 4th Hokage, former student to Jiraiya, husband to Kushina and father to Naruto and Menma. Kushina and Jiraiya had their mouths agape and shocked looks, as did Menma and Frogs, while Naruto and Kurama looked completely unfazed by this. Summoned up Minato inspected his vessel, finding it to be in good condition, before turning his blue eyes towards the guests and speaking up. "Hello, everyone. It has been quite a long time, hasn't it?" Minato spoke up in a civil manner, but the notes of coldness were present, but that didn't deter Kushina to nearly break in tears at the sight of her dead husband. Minato-kun. It's you." She practically launched herself at him, but Minato stopped her by his hand, shocking the guests, especially Menma and Kushina. "Minato-kun, why? Don't you recognize us? It's me, Kushina, and this is..." "I recognize everyone here, Kushina, and I know that this is our son, Menma. But that doesn't mean that I am glad to see you, not in the very slightest," Minato stated in a cold tone of voice, folding his arms together on his chest, shocking his family and mentor. "I wish I could say differently, but after witnessing what you two have done with my son, and especially you, Kushina, I have to restrain myself from hurting the two of you." "Jigaki, what are you saying? And how are you even?" "Wait, that series of signs. Naruto, where and how did you learn this accursed jutsu?" Jiraiya demanded to know from Naruto. "Don't you remember that this is the same jutsu because of which Lord Third had lost to Orochimaru, and had to die? Just what kind of a madman would ever even attempt to use it? For a supposed sage, you are really dumb, Jiraiya. Edo Tensei has nothing accursed to it, nor did I even utilize a sacrifice to bring Dad back, only a shadow clone." Naruto pointed towards Minato. Second Hokage had developed the original Edo Tensei to be utilized with usage of an object with the DNA of a summoned person, but he never fully specified if the sacrifice had to be a living person or simply a clone. As it turned out, a shadow clone will do the trick just the same. And as for how Dad had found out about it all, let's just say that he has managed to cheat death itself, literally. Back when I had performed the Shikifun, I already knew the price, but I've managed to trick Shinigami by splitting my chakra between the boys, so I would be able to reactivate the seal on them, if either was going to lose control and start pushing out far too much of Kyuubi's chakra. Minato explained to them. Since chakra is literally a manifestation of physical and spiritual energy of a person, aka soul, I was able to maintain myself as a spirit within both Naruto and Menma, keeping an eye out and watching what was going on. In other words, I know everything that you, Kushina, have done to my son, as well as how you, Jiraiya, with Third Hokage, have tormented my son, altered his mind and did absolutely fucking nothing to stop what was happening to him. Hell, I am pretty sure that you've endorsed the people to act like that. Minato, please, I am very sorry, and I wish I could have seen it sooner, but I've just lost you to Kyuubi, and Naruto looked so much like it, I couldn't see the difference, so I've... Kushina was trying to defend herself. So you've placed a bounty on our own son's head? Minato shouted out loud, shocking everyone. Kushina, you were the one who had trained me in sealing jutsu, and it would have been an effortless thing, to see that Naruto was not Kyuubi. But no, all you did was get it in your head that our son was possessed by Kyuubi, just like that. Although, let's not forget just what role in all of this you have played, Jiraiya. Minato turned his glare towards his former sensei. And now, kid, I know what you are thinking, and let me explain to you, that old man and I were looking out for the betterment of this village, your village, the one you've given up your life and... Jiraiya, just like Kushina, had tried to defend himself. And you must understand that it was imperative that one of the kids was left in the village, as deterrent for all the other villages. We had to make a choice, and we've decided that Naruto was the one to be left behind, so we spoke with Kushina and endorsed her own bloody delusions with your damn words. You think that this is what I've given my life for, so that this village were to use my children as weapons. I wasn't giving a damn about this cursed village at the moment. All I fucking cared about was saving my wife and my children from a rampaging tailed beast, and I knew that the only way to do so was to seal it away. Minato let out a breath, calming down a little. I had hoped that Kushina would be able to raise our children with love and care, and that you and Lord Third would make sure that they weren't subjected to hatred, nor were pampered as damn heroes of the village. I wanted that nobody knew the identities of the holders at all, so that the Jinchuriki were hidden away from other villages, but no. You just had to go around and announce that Naruto was the sole Jinchuriki of Kyuubi and not even bother explaining that he was not even the damn fox. You literally painted the target on my son's back for not just everyone in this accursed village, but for Kumo and IWA as well. Minato, I am sorry. Lord Third and I thought and believed that this would be best if Naruto was announced as the real Jinchuriki, since it would keep Menma and Kushina out of harm's way. Jiraiya explained to him. We did not expect that it would turn out so badly, and that Naruto was going to be harmed. Spare me the excuses, you bastard. Minato scowled at him. Didn't you get it by now? I know everything, and I know just how you were going to keep Naruto docile and loyal. I can hardly even believe that I've wanted to be the Hokage of this village. And as for you, Menma, I am very disappointed in you. What, but why, Dad? I'm praised by practically everyone in this village, and there are girls everywhere just wanting for me to take them as my girlfriends. I'm the best shinobi in this village, so why would you be disappointed with me? It's this idiot loser you should be disappointed in. Menma pointed towards Naruto, with folded his arms in the same fashion as his father. He was the one who was left behind and was later even kicked out for being an idiot, while I've been completing missions and getting famous, just like you. I am disappointed with you, Menma, because you fail to understand that being a shinobi was and never will be about fame and the girls. It is about protecting what is most important to you, to live by your convictions and stand your ground when need arises. Being a shinobi is not about becoming a messiah, a legend, or something like that, but in being ready to do what is needed for your village and your family. Minato stated to him. It is true that I would have preferred if either you or Naruto had become a Hokage, but what I had wished even more for was that my children had been able to forge their own path, unaffected by anything and anyone, to lead a life of their choosing, not others. It was my choice to be a Hokage, but I would not force it upon either of you, nor would I pamper you like everyone has done. Although, it is actually rather foolish of me, to place the blame with just Menma alone. Minato turned his head towards Jiraiya and Kushina. Minato, you have to understand, that the prophecy, the one I've told you about, it'll soon come to fruition. The great sage himself has confirmed that Menma is the child and... Jiraiya was trying to defend their position, until Minato spoke up again. That damned prophecy. Oh, how I wish I could have never even heard of it from you in the first place. Minato shouted at Jiraiya. This damn thing has practically ruined my life, because thanks to your idiotic thinking, I've lost both Ika and Keiji, my teammates, with former being my first love and fiancé. It was always about this damned prophecy with you, Jiraiya, and because of this senile old toad's drivel, one of my sons had been tormented beyond thought, while my other son was made into a pampered arrogant fool. To fucking hell with this damned prophecy, that's what I've got to tell you. Minato, just how can you even say such things? We had truly believed that you were the chosen child, and we've trained you for this. Pa stated to him, drawing the attention of everyone. Look, if you just let us explain to you all, then you'll see that the prophecy still matters and... I've said what I think about it, and I completely agree with Naruto on this matter. Minato simply stated to him. I've asked Naruto to bring me here, so that I could just look you in the eye and tell you just how much you've disappointed me. You preach that I would be disappointed with Naruto, but I'm more proud of my son here than I ever was. He has endured and persevered through things I was unable to even imagine, and has learned to live his life free from anyone and anything. You should admire and respect him for this, but instead... I can't even stand you. Naruto, if you don't mind. Not at all. Release. Naruto made the sign, releasing the Edo Tensei and letting his father's spirit leave the vessel, dispelling it in the process. And with this action, Kushina, Jiraiya, Toads, and Menma were left devastated and shattered, as they couldn't even believe that what they had believed would be their most avid and strongest supporter, has suddenly turned on them and told them exactly as he felt. For the first time in their lives, all of them have finally saw their illusions come down and show the ugly reality of their actions. Check the description for the links to the author.